across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is The Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and we've got a special guest today. She used to be known as Chloe Dobbs, but is now known as Chloe from Channel 4. Explain.
Yeah.
I'm not sure about that title. I'm not sure what that would do for my reputation.
Just run with
People
it.
might think I'm turn lefty, but...
So your TV show is out. It's a major TV show, and it's all about whether we should empty the third world and move everyone to Britain. And you went over there. You were our man in the Lebanon, weren't you?
I was our man. Well, I am actually a woman, believe it or not. But
just turn the phrase, right?
well, episode 1 came out on Monday. You guys can watch it on Catch Up if you haven't already.
Well, we've got lashings
my team was in Syria. It was pretty crazy. We were dodging ISIS and dodging Turkish drone strikes. Luckily, we made it out alive, just about. Saw, sadly, a heck of a lot of poverty. And
you nearly got bombed by the Turks. I'm glad I got that one right.
Yeah, you got that right this time.
We've got a little taster. Let's run the first clip of Chloe.
I really am an empathetic person, but if we don't put a stop to these ridiculously high levels of both legal and illegal migration, Britain is going to be a hellhole. People can call me racist all they want, but I know that my views are just basic common sense.
Guys, there's smoke on the horizon. Is that from a bomb?
Yeah, the road, they bombed a lot.
I've not got my hopes up for a safe, clean hotel tonight. We've all seen dodgy council estates in the UK, but this is a whole other world.
10-year-old Abdullah and 7-year-old Ahmed have been sent out by their dad to hunt for plastic and scrap metal.
I mean, when I was in school, I used to go pick seashells off the beach all day and then sit on a mat and sell them. I mean, you can see how they enjoy it because they're getting sort of an entrepreneurial kick out of it.
I'm sorry, Chloe. No child should have to do this.
They are in imminent danger of war all around them.
How do you know how I feel? I don't know if you think we have space in Britain for every single person in the world that lives in absolute poverty.
I mean, Bushra's expert level, isn't she? Right, you know, she's won the bad ones, isn't she? She's always kicking off about something.
Bushra, she is often kicking off, and we had a heck of a lot of fiery conversations. But to be honest, I'm glad that she was there because we were in a predominantly Muslim country, and we actually had someone who is Muslim with us who we could ask questions to. What are these people doing? Why are they covering themselves like this? What is this tradition? In episode 1, we had Bushra luckily tell us when we thought that Dave thought there was a suicide bomber, someone was on a megaphone sounding like they were shouting scary things, and Bushra was able to tell us, oh no, they're just selling tomatoes, because luckily she speaks a bit of Arabic and whatnot. And when the call to prayer went off in the middle of the night, and I was like, what on earth is going on? Who's
like
on a megaphone? 4 in the
morning, isn't it? Like, yeah.
Yep, she was able to tell me what was going on. But it was really, really interesting having her perspective, and it did get fiery and shouty at times, and she has got controversial opinions, but it was a big challenge for us to have to spend a month with people who you vehemently disagree with, but we learned a lot from each other, I think.
But one of the things that you know, is the basic premise of this, which I don't understand, and perhaps you can enlighten me, is this. Okay, so imagine I feel very sorry for these people. It's still a major jump to we should build a new city and move them all from Syria to Britain or from the Lebanon to Britain or whatever. And I just, it just came across to me as if there are people who say, look at how terrible this is, everybody needs to leave and move to Coventry.
That's not what the asylum system was for.
Well, the thing is, that is a utopian vision, and it's very, very difficult when you're put in a situation and you have to stand in front of somebody and have a conversation with them who is in absolute poverty, who is desperate to flee and come to Britain, and say to them, I'm sorry, I don't think you can all come. We don't have space in Britain for all of you. When you then form a connection with them and have really connected with them, that's really difficult compared to, say, if you just read about about it
Yes.
in the news. So I can understand when people get worked up. You'll see on the show, Dave, for example, he's of my persuasion. He would often, when he met people and saw people, he'd get caught up in the emotion of it and say, it was a running joke that the whole of Syria is moving into his house, because everyone he saw, he was like, look, I really, really hope you make it to Britain, mate. And he'd get so invested in the journey.
Just because he sort of became matey with him, though. It's not really rational.
But after he had a bit of time to then step away and digest it, he realised, actually, this isn't a viable solution.
Did anyone change their minds on it, or did everyone leave with the same points of view that they had in the first place, and it was all a big waste of time?
It definitely wasn't a big waste of time. I've learned a lot. I think everyone has shifted their view to some degree, but no one's done a complete 180 for sure. None of us who were saying stop the boats are saying open the borders completely, bring them all in.
But hang on a second, right? It's exactly the same as Gaza, right? So, well, it's not exactly the same, but if you think about what the Israeli Defence Force did, they wiped out as many members of Hamas as they could, but fundamentally, none of that matters if you don't change the government, right? So, and I know this is going to sound incredibly dull, but if I'd have gone on that show, I'd have said your principal problems, which are always the principal problems, is subjugation of women, lack of contract enforcement, corrupt police, failure of independent courts, lack of freedom of speech, and inability to enforce contracts. It's always the same.
I mean, Syria is a complete mess, and probably already will be. I mean, we were told that there were, say, 17 different groups all against each other. It's not just the good guys versus bad guys.
Basically.
It's so confusing. And then now we've had the fall of the Assad regime. We were lucky we went when we did before there's been chaos there, because we wouldn't be allowed to go now. But we've now got people in charge in Syria. Everyone was celebrating, woohoo, the Assad regime's fallen, but the new people that are in charge, they're all ex-terrorists.
Ex-ISIS.
Are they really ex-terrorists, or are they being nice guys until they've consolidated their power and we're going to have a horrendous Islamist regime? So that region is always going to be a complete mess.
But the reality, I mean, we'll show the footage of you going to a hospital, but for me, I mean, it's just one of those things where we give these people aid, and no matter how much you give them, I mean, in Gaza, there's no doubt giving them aid made it worse. Because
they made billions. About 3 of them were multi-billionaires. The 3 lead, one of them's dead now. But
Anyway, let's see you at a hospital.
Yeah.
Take it away. Girl, it was her view that 4.5 billion people should move to the United Kingdom in order to get the NHS to treat them. Was that her view? Because from what I can see, genuinely her attitude is everyone should come to Britain, we should solve it. Yeah. And for every, what would it be? For every 8,000 people on the NHS, it'd be one taxpayer to fund it.
I mean, to be honest, I'm not completely sure, because with these people who say, don't be so insensitive saying we can't all take all these people, when you then put the facts to them and say, I'm sorry, but, it's not just all the people in Syria. Think of all the other poor countries.
They're ideologues.
Can you imagine if we took all those into Britain? I mean, it just would not.
It's like our
be
government
possible.
are the same, aren't
It's
they?
then they go quiet and they and ah and they struggle for answers. But, I feel compassion for Bushra and her perspective, because she's got a big heart. She's a mother of several children, and so when she sees children suffering, it really is difficult for her. But I saw it as our role going out there was to try and find solutions to the problems we see, and so for me it was important to be able to step away from those really emotional situations and look at the bigger picture and say, hang on, is there actually anything we can do about this?
But does it make you a good person to turn round and say, we have got retired soldiers, veterans or whatever on the streets. We've got a major problem with poverty in this country. We've got a major chronic housing shortage. And what we now need is 2 million penniless people to come into the country. I don't think that makes you a good person. I think it makes you a phony.
But also, they wouldn't have sympathy for those soldiers lying in the streets. They wouldn't have the same sympathy.
Well, the thing is you've got two different perspectives. You've got my perspective, which is that my morality is that you should look after yourself, your family, your community, your country first before you take care of people in the rest of the world. That's not to say you don't look after other people at all, but you at least have a priority order. Whereas the people like Bushra and Matilda, who was also on the show, who were more pro-open borders, their view is it's a complete lottery where you are born. We should treat someone on the other side of the world as equally as we do someone in Britain. So they're saying when we're talking about people in Britain, say, struggling to pay their energy bill, bills, that's a luxury issue compared to people who are completely homeless in Syria.
Well, I just wonder if you were to look at home ownership rates among Syrians under the age of 30, I wonder who are poorer, Brits or Syrians, because of the cost of housing. Anyway, Heather is in Gavan. Heather wants to talk to Chloe. Heather, take it away.
We can't solve the whole world's problem in this country. We cannot keep on using our own people as the sacrificial lamb of the world. We can't do it. There's poverty everywhere in this country. There's high prices in energy.
So what's the answer, Heather?
Well, the answer is what we need to do is put our country first and put our veterans first. They're homeless. They're on the street. They sacrifice their lives for our country.
Have you got a question for Chloe? Have you seen her new TV show? Heather? 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 She's still going. Let's wait till she's finished and then... Heather, have you got a question for Chloe?
No, I haven't. I've got my point of view is we need to start looking after our war veterans because they've
gone all muffled. Heather, you've gone all muffled.
No.
So Heather, in a phone-in to you, Chloe, phoned in to say she had nothing to say to you.
Well, she gave us her opinion, and she thinks that we should put Brits first, and then we've got problems in our own country. But you said, Ash, OK, well, what is the solution then? What can we do? And the very sad reality is that we all have to accept that we cannot fix all of the world's problems. It's horrible to accept the fact that there will always be people living in poverty in the world, at least in the short to medium income.
Free trade,
medium future.
Free trade and capitalism has lifted 1 billion people out of poverty in the past 20 years.
And the Industrial Revolution.
We've made huge progress. And one of the things that capitalist nations can do to help other countries, one of the most basic things, is buy their stuff.
Yes.
And that was one niche reason why I was pro-Brexit. Outside the customs union, you've got more opportunity to do trade deals with countries that could actually really do with the help. It's often much more productive than just sending a load of money over.
Squandering it and stifling it every point.
Do you know what? I went into a museum or some sort of a thing in Liverpool, and it was up on the wall. I forget whether it was. I think it was probably Oxfam, that dodgy organisation. Let's not describe what they got up to. But anyway, there was on the wall it said, Oxfam have said that it's a misconception that free trade economics helps the poorest people in the world. Actually, tariffs on their goods coming into the EU has helped them massively. And I thought, how could that possibly be true?
That sounds absolutely bonkers to me.
Garbage,
I mean, the stats are clear as day.
Yeah, of course.
That free trade has brought so many people out of poverty. I mean, China is one example where a huge number of people have been brought out of absolute poverty.
We've got another clip. This is you with some kids in Lebanon, and apparently there was a bit of controversy over your comments here. Let's have a look at the clip.
They're usually controversial.
Interesting. So the sort of the ethnic profile of somebody is to have a rubbish motorbike.
Well, it was sort of a running joke with Dave on the trip that he was constantly pointing people out, and in Syria, for example, and going, "That guy, I reckon that guy's ISIS," and I go, "Oh, how do you know that, Dave?" And then when we were in Lebanon, he'd be like, "Yeah, that person's definitely Syrian." I'd be like, "How do you know
from
that,
the
Dave?"
motorbike.
Not from
That's a Suzuki 150. It's definitely ISIS.
I don't know. But what was happening here was this was a particular region of Lebanon where it's like a 99% Christian region, pretty strict on their law and order, and they there had pretty zero tolerance approach to having illegal migrants in their area. So and they were in Lebanon. Okay, you think the problem is bad in Britain here, but you've got to sympathise with the Lebanese because they had a population of 4 million, and within 1 year, 2 million Syrians arrived, a 50% increase in population. Can you imagine that happening?
And they were
in
a
Britain?
Christian country,
And then people have the audacity to give me stick for criticising the Lebanese for trying to have a bit of basic border control.
Hang on a second. There'll be nobody taking to the media. There'll be nobody on the BBC. There'll be nobody on Question Time saying, oh, what are we doing for the Lebanese Christians? It'll be, screw it. It's the Islamic world. It's like Israel. Oh, come on! It's Muslim land anyway.
They never talk about Christian ethnic cleansing, which is going on all over the place right now.
Lebanon is not a Muslim country. Lebanon is a Christian country.
It was like 99% Christian.
They've got a huge mixture of all different faiths there, and it's actually worked quite well. They've all got along quite well. But where you have
apart from the war.
But when you have problems is when one group becomes way bigger and then has huge sway in elections, for example. And what they've had with suddenly 2 million Syrians suddenly arriving is a huge increase in the Muslim population there, and so people feel like their Christian identity.
Well, you've got Hezbollah there, haven't you? You've got a guerrilla army in your own country.
You know what? I thought Lebanon was paradise, so I thought I want to go back on holiday here. When we arrived, I was like, oh my gosh, get me down to the beach, I love it. And we had our security briefing when we arrived in Lebanon, and I thought they were going to warn us about the Hezbollah terrorists, and they said, oh, the number one threat we face here is just the traffic. People drive like
they're down south.
Be careful. Be careful walking across the road. And I was like, what about the terrorists? What about Hezbollah? And they were like, oh no, they're down in the south. Don't need to worry about it.
But it was the Paris of the Middle East. It used to be an amazing place.
Well, that's what they wanted. Well, we spoke to a politician there, and that's what he wants it to become. He wants
very
it
glamorous.
To become
Realistically, I do accept that the constitution in Lebanon guarantees rights for Christians, but it's not that Christian rights are going to be disappearing, but it is becoming a Muslim country, right? And what happens? And I don't want to be disrespectful to anybody, but what happens with a country that becomes a predominantly Muslim country is, you know, the rules are enforced on everyone. That's not universal.
Especially when it's the Hezbollah Iranian type that are coming in.
OK, Kay is in London. Kay, you're on top.
She actually wants to talk to you, Chloe.
I need to get my headphone sorted. That keeps falling out.
OK, well, go on, Kay. What do you want to say? And I'll go on. What do you want to ask Chloe?
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
No.
You can't hear me, no?
No, yes. No, I still can't hear you.
It don't make me laugh.
Anyway, yeah, what do you want to say, man?
Basically, what I wanted to say was that obviously some of these countries that people are coming over, there's a specific reason as to why they want to come to the UK and other countries in Europe. Yeah. They've been targeted by the US, by Britain, over a period of like 20 years. The axis of evil, the uprisings, everything's been actually created. So they create hellholes. Like America bombs the hell out of places like Iraq, Afghanistan. The Israelis are bombing, you know, the Gaza Strip, and then they say, fend for yourself. Go fend for yourself.
Well, hang on a second. I mean, if you look at what happened in Afghanistan, it's often forgotten that the World Trade Center attack, both of them, or I suppose all four of them, took place before the invasion of Iraq and Afghanistan. It's, you know, we constantly get told, oh, we're attacking their countries. I mean, you can shout all day about the behaviour of the IDF and Benjamin Netanyahu, but fundamentally, 1,200 people were put to the sword for no reason before the IDF touched them.
So I can't speak for all of these countries, but I can say what Syrians had to say. We met survivors of horrendous ISIS brutality. We were shown around the Black Stadium. Sports was banned by ISIS. Everything fun banned. That place was turned into a torture prison, and we had one of the guys who was tortured take us through. The ropes are still hanging there. It's disgusting. We were shown the roundabouts in the town. They used the roundabouts to behead people and put all their heads around the roundabout. They would boil,
like we did here 500 years ago.
People alive in oil in front of their families. It was horrendous. And the US, they went in, they bombed ISIS, they mostly got rid of them. You speak to the people there, even though most of them, you know, their homes are destroyed, they've all lost family members, they say, we are so grateful that you got rid of them. But the problem is, we bombed the place, we got rid of ISIS, but then we left and we didn't help them get on their feet at all with rebuilding their homes and getting on with their lives.
If you go to Camden, people are going to tell you it's equal but different. Oh, you know, we shouldn't decry the culture of another country. Everybody's equal, everyone's the same. I think if you boil somebody in oil on your local roundabout, you're a savage.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is, you say, oh, it's their culture. No, it's the culture of the crazy, insane Islamists at the top. The people the general population, most of these countries, for example, look at Iran, had a beautiful culture before it was taken over by Islamists. The Syrians did not
Zoroastrian.
There will have, of course, been indoctrination and whatnot, but the Syrians generally did not want to live under such horrendous brutality. Very few normal human beings.
Well, they were a minority religion, the Assad regime. The majority was, yeah.
But if you,
we were in the Kurdish part in the north. We weren't allowed.
Let me remind you of the point that Kay has made. Now, I don't know whether it was intended to sound like this, but I've heard this point made before. We have destroyed their country. They have the right to come over and destroy ours as a punishment. I mean, that's the summary of what some of these lefties say. Yeah, how dare you complain that they've ruined London?
That's like saying after the Second World War, all the Germans should have moved here because we destroyed it. No, we destroyed their buildings and for a reason. That's why the countries have been destroyed, because they declared war. You don't get to then move in the country that wins. You have to sort your own country.
Yeah, and can I tell you something else? Can I tell you something else? Can I make this point to you? If you fly planes into the World Trade Centre, I have no problem with someone carpet bombing you. I don't.
There have to be consequences. Look, I do not think the West is perfect. I think there are times when they have intervened correctly. I think there are times when they have made mistakes. But regardless, it's not any kind of viable solution to bring every person that lives in poverty or lives in a war zone to Britain. We simply do not have the space here. We shouldn't, turn Britain into the third world whilst trying to save the third world. Everybody loses.
There is another subtle point, which is this. What we have done through multiculturalism is that we've said that what we need to do is we need to go to the world's biggest shitholes and we need to move that culture over to the United Kingdom in order to culturally enrich Britain. What we need to say is voodoo, nutty magic, female genital mutilation, machete knife crime, all of that stuff is positive.
That's enriched us, that has all these machete
that's culturally enrichment. Well, actually, let me say this. I believe the reason that a lot of these countries are poor is because of bad governance, right? So what you're saying is the only countries that don't suffer from that problem, let's infect them with it. So what you now have is, rather than 20 rich countries, you've got 0.
The reality is that you will have bad apples in these places. You definitely shouldn't tarnish them all with the same brush. And pretty much everybody that we met was incredibly kind, and the people in Syria, they were so warm and so welcoming and just wonderful human beings. But you look at a place like that, there is no governance. It's normal for them, for people to operate in criminal gangs.
Fend for yourselves, it's survival of the fittest.
Exactly,
yeah.
So that's what's the norm for them.
I used to live in South London as well.
When that comes to Britain. Also, the other team that went to Somalia, you see them talking to a woman about the horrendous practice of FGM, 98% of girls affected by it there, and talking to women living in encampments there about how they've been, raped and abused and forced into child marriages. But then, a lot of people commenting on the show pointed out, hang on, those are not the women coming to Britain. It's the guys who think it's okay to marry children who are coming to Britain. Do we really want those? Is it a surprise that we've got issues with, for example, in Dean's Hangar, people hanging out outside primary schools taking pictures of kids when it's the norm in the country to have child marriages?
I've got no problem with you thinking Somalia's brilliant. Live in Somalia. What I don't understand, and I'm
just waiting for all of the Free Palestine Brigade to go to Gaza and help rebuild it.
I continually make this point about my grandmother and her brother. My grandmother was born in Greece, as was her brother, and she thought Greece was crap. So she moved to Britain. He thought Greece was great, so he stayed in Greece. But there was no element of, I think Greece is marvellous, therefore I've moved to Britain and decided to open up a taverna. There was none of that. And it just strikes me where you look at this and people take to the TV, Chloe, and say, my country is genuinely dreadful. So what we need to do is turn a bit of South London into something similar.
Well, the thing is, a lot of the problem where these open border views stem from is a hatred for your own country and a hatred for the West. Is this, horrible woke ideology we've been fed? Is that the West is evil? People think that we're, for example, the only ones that ever had colonies. I spoke to on the trip you'll see in one of the later episodes. I spoke to some people from, I think, Tunisia, who spoke French, or from Africa, and they were trying to go to France, and they were just economic migrants, and I said, do you think you have a right to live and work in France? And they said, of course, because the French colonized us. This is payback. Of course I have a right to be there. It's this, and if the French or in our case the Brits don't stand up and say, actually no, we are great countries, we do deserve to have border control, this country's for us, then
we're going to have to go. Thank you so much to Kay, by the way. We're going to have to go to a break in a minute. But when I see people on the TV talking about how marvellous Britain is, not really talking about the economic opportunities, are they, or the culture? They're talking about the benefits. They're going.
74% of Somalians are in social housing who've moved here.
I mean, let's be clear, and I don't want to diss the Somalians, but let's be clear, it's not been an overwhelming economic success.
But come here and work here and accept the British culture. But anyway,
what we offer them is a significant.
What you're doing is you are paying people to hate your country and to change it into a dump.
I think that the vast majority are people that want to get on and work, but you will have plenty of people that, for example, end up stuck in housing because they can't speak English. Yeah, I barely spoke to a single migrant that spoke English. But
the reality is, look,
how are you going to be a good worker in this country?
There are some people from Eastern Europe, and particularly from developed countries, where they make an economic contribution. There is no doubt whatsoever that the mass immigration of unskilled labour has made Britain significantly poorer. And in exchange, what we've got is people who can't stand the country. Anyway,
we're now allowing 50 dependents of refugees to come in the country each day.
When's it on then? Because
so first episode came out on Monday. Yeah. Episode 2 will come out on Monday at 9 p.m. You can watch the first one on catch up if you haven't.
Set your videos.
4 episodes in total coming out each Monday.
4. And it's Channel 4.
Channel 4.
Interesting. All right, we're going to be back in a couple of moments with Tom Harris from the Free Speech Union. Back in a moment.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, shut up about the
2
waters.
waters and a latte, garçon.
Right, okay, well, Donald Trump, I mean, it's just been a whirlwind, hasn't it? I think it's just phenomenal, and I think it's a real lesson for whether it's Kemi Badenoch or Nigel Farage that you've got to have your programme for government ready before you start. But OK, let's watch this clip of Donald Trump, who, by the way, I just think is the antichrist for the political left, isn't he? Go for it.
In a few moments, I'll sign a historic executive order to ban men from competing in women's sports. It's about time. My administration will not stand by and watch men beat and batter female athletes. From now on, women's sports will be only for women. In recent years, the radical left has waged an all-out campaign to erase the very concept of biological sex and replace it with a militant transgender ideology. We're honored to be joined today by many incredible advocates for women's sports, including the brave swimmer at the forefront of this battle. And Riley Gaines is a person that I've been watching. With my action this afternoon, we're putting every school receiving taxpayer dollars on notice that if you let men take over women's sports teams or invade your locker rooms, you will be investigated for violations of Title IX and risk your federal funding. There will be no federal funding. With this executive order, the war on women's sports is over. We are restoring sanity and common sense, defending the rights and safety and pride of the American people, including our great, great, great female athletes.
Chloe, can I just say this to you, Chloe? I found that quite emotional.
Yeah.
Simply because you just, for those who are listening rather than watching, there are women there, girls there, heaving a sigh of relief. And it feels like we were being discriminated against our rights.
They were bullying,
Yes.
and he's the man to stand up to the bullies. Anyway, Tom is here, who's the director of data from the Freedom of Speech Union. So that's who
The
Tom
Freedom of Speech Union, so we got the title wrong.
and data. I love data.
Data, yeah. Chloe, carry on. Sorry, I'll just introduce you.
Yeah, of course, we should notice that Tom is in the room.
Chloe,
Welcome,
it's
Tom.
important.
Yeah, this is a really lovely video, actually, that they've put together, and there will be a heck of a lot of women, not just in that room, but across the United States, sighing with relief. You may have just had a few brave people like Riley Gaines, the swimmer who Trump spoke about there, being at the forefront of this, but I'm sure there are a heck of a lot more women.
Well, Sharon Davis here, swimmer here as well.
Who share Riley's point of view, but were absolutely terrified to say anything, worried that they might, for example, even be kicked off of their teams, or at least, kicked out of their friendship groups.
Here you get arrested.
It's horrible that feminism has gone completely backwards to get us to the point where we will allow men to beat up women. Where the hell have we gone?
I'll tell you one thing that's amazing about that boxing. My uncle was a champion boxer. Almost nothing unites the boxing world at all. They have all these different organisations. They're all literally and figuratively fighting. The one thing that none of them would do was countenance a situation where a man was in women's boxing, because there will be a one-punch kill. There's no doubt about that.
Well, there isn't. Men kill men in the boxing ring. Every year there's many that die, so obviously, in fact, I'll be surprised if there hasn't been a woman killed, but we've probably been pushed up.
But it's so weird in a way, though, isn't it? Because if you ran the clock back 10 years ago, would this be cause for a press conference saying that we will not have trans women in women's sports? That would not have warranted a press conference
boxing
10 years
particularly,
ago.
it's one thing having to swim in a lane next to a guy, but to actually have someone punching you who is a guy. I mean, I boxed for a year, and I would have to spar with guys, and they'd always be told, go really light on the girls.
Yeah.
But if their weight is behind, even if they haven't put power into it, if they just step into a punch or you accidentally walk onto their punch, even if it's light, it hits you so much harder than a female
160% more power in weight. If they're exact weight, the man has 160% more power.
Well, this is the thing, is people say, it's fine if they're in the same weight category. No. Absolutely
The lightest
not.
weightlifter will beat the heavest woman weightlifter, and he's about third of their weight.
The other thing is, it's a fundamental misunderstanding of boxing. So, there's a lot of elements to boxing, but one of them is neck strength. right? And it doesn't matter what your overall weight is. Mike Tyson will take a woman's head off if he punches it at full force.
Well, Chris Eubank actually told me once, because he used to have a show here years ago on Talk Sports, and he said, what you should do if you get punched is you should relax your neck and let your head go back with the punch.
But it's this constant oversimplification of saying, well, it's just testosterone. And Sharon Davis is so good about this. She talks about the I think it's the Q angle, the bone density, talks about the build, talks about the hormonal balance.
It's not
overall,
just hormones that make you a man, it's the XY chromosomes, and that's why eunuchs were different to women, even though they got castrated because there's two elements, there's hormone and there's physical stuff. Yeah.
And also, if you've gone through puberty as a man completely, and then you switch to taking estrogen, even if you have to take it for the specified period of time you need to take it for, your body is not going to change completely back to a woman's body. You might lose a bit of muscle, but there's no way that you can say after taking estrogen for a little while that this person is now literally a woman and can compete fairly against one.
But we keep talking about, is Leah Thomas a woman? And here's the question that we don't ask ourselves: is Leah Thomas trans? Because from what I can see, the only thing that Leah Thomas has done is grown his hair long and called himself Leah, right? He has not, that person has done nothing in terms of corrective surgery, nothing in terms of, well, I don't want to go into the crude details, but the reality is, I mean, look, Brian May's got long hair, right? It doesn't make him a woman.
Well, it does come down to what is transgenderism, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Really, fundamentally, because if it's not biology, if it's something else, and I think the books that have been written on this have said it's much more a spiritual thing. It's a sort of, you'd identify your own gender identity, like your spirit.
I don't think that is the case, but even if that were the case, for sport, you absolutely need to draw a line. Also, when Riley Gaines competed against Leah Thomas at the NCAA Championship, she said there also was a girl there who was just wearing a pair of Speedos and literally had her boobs just out because she had decided that she was a boy and needed to dress like a boy.
Although
didn't get quite the same press coverage as Leah Thomas, but that is the bonkers world we're living in, where you've got a guy with a bulge.
No, I'm sorry.
And a woman with her top not covered at all.
A trans man will never do well in the Olympics against men who are...
Can I just stop you? You have to understand the audience. These lot are not going to be angry about that, are they? Right? If she wants to get her top off and have a wander around, they're all going to be fine. I'll tell you what, Susan, get that one. She's gorgeous. Lovely.
But the question is, I mean, this is the States. So I'm hoping that these winds that normally blow east will affect us here in the UK, because we are so entrenched, and we are becoming more entrenched the more we beat this philosophy and the injustice that it leads to.
We've got to go to a break. We're just going to stick with this topic. We'll be back in 2 minutes.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is a late show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. I just wanted to go back to Tom Harris from the Free Speech Union about this point that you were making before.
The data director.
Just a really simple point, because I keep hearing people say this, oh, Trump is going to save Britain. I've never come across a cultural phenomenon where so many people genuinely believe that the president of a foreign country is going to have a significant impact in Britain.
No, I mean, and that's a very valid point, because in theory he should have absolutely no effect.
Correct.
However, you know, the death of George Floyd in America triggered a huge change culturally and socially across the whole of the United Kingdom and beyond.
Yeah, but it's not just
that. I think that something like Trump is of the order of that in terms of the effect that it could have.
But it's not just that. I mean, the blonde woman, she's only about 25, the spokeswoman, she came on today and she was talking about the Doge, you know, the government efficiency thing that Elon Musk, and she did a sheet. She goes, we give 10. My mic, I've got my mic. We've got. I'll project.
It's pulling out the clip, Andre.
You can do it.
We've given 10 million to Guatemala to make a sort of Sesame Street version. We've given 5 million to Iran for this and that. And she was going, we're scrapping all this, and she was having to go to the Democrats. And we see that, and we go, why aren't we doing that?
Well, this is the power of having the conversations we're too afraid to have, and they are having conversations that they were too afraid to have under Biden, or that Biden and his administration were suppressing. They're having those conversations. We're hearing those conversations, and that's going to give us the
and
courage.
Also, Elon Musk tweeting and endorsing the Reform Party definitely impacts what's going on in the UK.
Can I just stop this show for a minute?
I had the clip on.
30 years.
I just didn't have the mic in it.
He clipped the clip on, but didn't bother putting the mic on it.
Well, no, it was earlier. Someone must have come round and pulled it. I think Garson did it.
We were trying to cover it by keeping it
nicely done. I don't think anyone noticed.
I don't think anyone noticed.
No. It's just hard to know. Right. It's just hard to know how the 31st year is going to be any different.
I think we got away with it.
Chloe, is it legitimate to believe that that all of this now is a global campaign against freedom, and the fact that Donald Trump is hitting back has significance in Britain?
I think it does have significance in Britain. I think that the tide is definitely turning, and was starting to turn before Trump came in. But I think this will be an accelerator. Will it mean that Britain ends up a complete copy of the US and all their policies that they go for? Of course not. And I think also, in terms of government direction, we'll have to wait until 2029 to have much change. I don't think Keir Starmer is going to be a carbon copy.
And it won't be on day one like Trump. No, I've never seen this before. A politician comes in and literally does all these things.
Yeah, well, the thing is, we've spoken about the gender issue, but one thing I'm really interested in seeing, if Britain copies, is the action that he's taken on the border. First day in office, 308 arrests made of illegal migrants, and we then had Selena Gomez hilariously crying about it. Did you see that? That was hilarious.
We've got some important similarities. And first of all, we're talking about culture. So we're not actually talking about the more rigid existence of a state. We're talking about culture. Now, culture is an intangible, and it does travel across borders.
But it's not nothing to do with race, is it? Culture. It's culture. It's nothing to do with your race.
No. It's just to do with the flavour of the air. You know,
do you know
you can taste it.
Do you know what has always worked for me in every organisation I've ever been in? When I'm threatened with diversity training, I threaten to go. I always say HR.
Do you mean you threatened to go to the training or threatened just to leave?
No. Let me tell you. Any company that sent me to diversity training, I would fully engage.
You are a member of the Free Speech Union. I'm just checking.
No, I'd be there. At one point when I worked for the Greater London Authority, they threatened to send me on a 1-week residential diversity training course run by Lee Jasper. And when I told them I'd definitely be there, they kind of backed down a little bit.
But the other point is we have reform here, so we have a similar movement to I mean, it's different. It's British, it's not American, obviously, but it's a similar kind of vibe and a similar kind of energy. So that's happening in the UK and shadowing in many ways.
Have you given up on the Conservatives?
for the moment, I don't know how we trust them. In terms of the key issues.
Kemi Badenoch is proving quite disappointing.
How do we trust her?
Where's the fire at PMQs? That was one thing I at least thought with her. I was like, I'm not sure if she'll be the best leader, but she'll at least be fiery at the dispatch pot.
And the ECHR, she hasn't come out and said we're going to leave.
Are doing all the opposition in the Commons.
If we don't leave the ECHR, there's no chance. And she's not. She said
my big problem is, honestly, I'd rather have a vasectomy than listen to Kemi versus Starmer. I mean, it's not going to be brimming, is it?
It's not going to be.
She didn't bring anything up about him, you know, this...
the voice coach.
The voice coach who went over... I mean, they haven't said if she was doing a voice lesson. Maybe there was other reasons
Why didn't she go for it?
Yeah, exactly. They're all in. It's a unipart.
They just can't handle Farage in that chamber.
And they've all ganged up to block these council elections, the Tories and Labour, which is obvious what they're doing. They're trying to stop democracy.
I'll tell you something. Let me just be clear on one thing about Keir Starmer during lockdown. I am not a lawyer, but I cannot work out how this is legal. And yet he keeps going, well, it was lockdown, but I went for a curry with 40 other people, but I was in the same room as them, but didn't have dinner with them. Oh, I forgot that my deputy was there.
And then the woman that did the investigation got an amazing job and her son got an MP seat.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? It's just so bloody obvious.
Well, if you lawyer everything, if you turn it into lawyer language and you answer every question according to sort of lawyer language, you're not doing politics anymore. You're doing lawyering. Now, I love lawyers. We need them. We need them in the background. Sometimes we need them in the foreground. But they're not politicians.
But she's a terrible politician, and I guess the point of this voice coach was to make him a better politician, but it hasn't
Well, we don't know why
worked
she
at
was...
all.
Well, exactly, and that makes me suspicious. Was she actually voice coaching, or were they up to something else?
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Also, why is she coming on Christmas Eve? I mean, Keir Starmer,
right,
he says that he clocks out at 6 o'clock on a Friday.
If you have a private meeting with your voice coach on Christmas Eve, then what we are not going to do is speculate about what took place, simply because I don't want to get sued, right? But
was there any mistletoe
But I would suggest to you, running a public speaking training business myself,
Matt Hancock.
I have never been phoned up at 7 p.m. on Christmas Eve to pop over, right? It's just totally ludicrous. More next.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Well, like every vocal coach, presumably she's got some oral techniques. Oh, I'm sorry. This is the Late Show with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Was that broadcast? Oh God! Didn't even see the light go. By the way, how do you pronounce Jeremy Hunt? We've accidentally said it. Oh God! Amazing. I don't think that's actionable. If I'm being honest, because voice coaches will.
Well,
this is where we need
to find out tomorrow, won't we? We'll find out.
Do you know the first time?
I'm just going to say no comment.
The first time somebody tried to sue me, I was 18, and I got
just for becoming 18.
I got this solicitor's letter, and I replied to every solicitor's letter in the same way. I'm not joking. I go, "Dear Sir / Madam, thank you for your valued correspondence. However, due to the number of letters Andre Walker receives, he cannot reply to them all personally." And then just do PP and just get a mate to sign it.
Can I ask why you were being sued at 18?
Well, the point is, right, can I make one point to you?
Good question.
People say that you can sue for defamation and libel. Yes, if you've got £1 million. And so if somebody sends you a letter saying, "I'm going to sue you for libel," in all likelihood, they're not going to do it. So I just send back the PP letter and then worry later.
It is one of the most expensive areas of law, definitely.
Absolutely. Okay, let me talk to you about West Yorkshire Police. I saw this Twitter where somebody had phoned up. Had done a freedom of information request.
I think it was Norman Brennan. I think it was our mate Norman Brennan. Yeah.
And basically asked, how much are you spending on DEI? And basically, they had 19 diversity advisors at 1.4 million. They had one guy on 91 grand advising them on.
And that's a small police force. Imagine what it is at the Met. It'll be 10 times that of the Met.
Well, this is it. I don't know why this was triggered, what triggered the freedom of information request, but
Norman Brennan asked for it.
It goes back to this. It's so difficult to make this sound fresh and new because we have had this story emerge again and again and again.
Yeah, but it's again since Trump come out. This is now hitting the headlines.
I think the thing is, could it start to be a different conversation now Trump's done what he's done with the federal government? Maybe. But we've had a couple of wins. We've had a couple of consultations where organisations have backed away from some of this requirement of their members to support DEI. But it seems that at the same time, this kind of thing.
Trump's pricked their bubble, though, hasn't he? All over the world, their bubble's been pricked.
I think it means conversations people have been frightened to have are happening.
Yeah. I remember I went to
more in the open.
I remember I went to Man Met Student Union for a drink one night, and George Osborne turned up because when he first became an MP, he was only about 28, so we used to go boozing with him, and he stole a poster from the wall, and it said, We are looking for a new LGBTQ lesbian rights advisor, right? And it went through all these requirements, and basically she had to be a pro-trans black lesbian, and then at the bottom it said, "This is a job, sure." And he went, "That is the most left-wing advert I've ever seen." They were after two of them because it was on the article.
But I mean, especially in the police force, people there, they think, "Oh, this is all lovely and nice, we're going to boost diversity in the police." The reality is, this probably costs lives. The police should be out on the streets fighting knife crime, which I think it's pretty obvious we've got an issue with in this country. Yet they're wasting money on this.
Well, hang on. Let me just develop that point. Do you believe? And by the way, you'll see where I'm going with this. Do you believe that these DEI advisors, if they didn't exist, there would be a crackdown on knife crime and we would save black teenagers in London? Because I'll be honest with you, I think there's a reasonable amount of evidence to suggest that diversity advisors are offing with black kids in unprecedented numbers because they think it's racist to do stop and search.
I mean, I don't know for sure what these people do in their jobs, but I wouldn't be surprised if these are the kind of people who are who are giving police training about how not to be racist on the job. And how not to, make sure you don't do stop and search. Make sure you're careful about that because
but I think they're the first layer of the onion.
Yeah, and they'll scare police. They'll put it in the forefront of other officers' minds that, you know, being accused of racism is the worst thing that can happen to you as an officer, and that has put us in a pretty treacherous situation.
But remember, but I'll tell you what will happen, Tom, all the time, and this one thing where I've got a lot of sympathy for the police. what will happen is a young constable will turn up, get goaded to hell by a group of thugs, filming him on the phone, and then release the 30 seconds that make him look absolutely dreadful. Now, that's bad enough. But what will immediately happen is the lefties at the top of the police will hang him out to dry and seek to destroy him personally and professionally.
I agree with that. I think when people are starting out, particularly, they are so vulnerable to that kind of attack. And that's not just the police force, but it is particularly the police force. And it's a function of the lack of respect we now have for these kinds of institutions.
Well, also it's the bosses,
the pillar of the community.
Look at our fire brigade. I mean, look at in America, look at the LA fires. The top 3 positions in the fire brigade in Los Angeles are 3 lesbians. Now, I'm not having anything against lesbians, but what are the odds that the 3 best people in firefighting are those? And the FAA guy, he was a DEI hire. He actually never been a pilot, and they were asking him these questions in an inquiry, and he goes, I don't know the answer.
But you don't have a voice if you're just starting out. You know, to your point, Andre, if you're just kicking off your career, you've got to go on those training courses. You've got to.
Yeah, but it's the management at the top are rubbish because they're not qualified. There's no meritocracy.
People are calling it out.
Like Norman Brennan, who started this whole thing, they all do it. And Peter Blexley.
Thank God they are.
When I was a contributor, I used to get phone calls all the time from the BBC. They'd go, Andre, do you know anybody who's as good as you, but is either black or a woman? Now, they're phoning...
And there isn't anyone.
They are phoning... Remember what they're doing? They're not only not giving me the work, they're phoning me up to ask me to try and find the person that is going to get the job as a result of the racist discrimination against me.
Yeah, I mean,
it is racism, though.
It's the acceptable racism.
Yeah, anti-racism at heart is anti-white racism.
Yeah. Absolutely. I find it absolutely despicable. All right, well, we're going to be sticking with Chloe Dobbs and Tom Harris, and we're going to have the press preview just in a couple of moments. But you can call us 0344 499 1000 at Virtual Ash.
At Andre JP Walker.
Also, how do we join the Free Speech Union? It's
freespeechunion.org, and it starts at £5 a month.
OK, great. We will be back just in a couple of moments with the press preview, all the front pages from tomorrow's paper.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
This is the press preview with Andre Walker and Asher Gould, and our guest co-hosts today are Chloe Dobbs and Tom Harris. Tom is from the Free Speech Union, and Chloe Dobbs is a political commentator.
Yes.
And also star of a Channel 4 TV show.
Maybe.
Go back to where you came from.
There's no need to be rude. What's the name of the show? No, that's the name of the show.
That's the name.
Great.
We
Okay.
did go for a very controversial name.
What is the front? What's the first front page?
Well, good morning, everyone. Look, there's Mike Graham getting ready for his show in a bit, but let's start with a bit of frivolousness, or is it serious? The Daily Star, our Daily Star, leads with perfect boiled egg will take 32 minutes. Now, that's, I don't know what sort of system, but you'll have to turn to page 11. We haven't got it here, so we will never know. And the main headline, boffins. Lazy gits live longer. Yes, relaxing on the sofa, having a good sleep and not overdoing it at work could help you live an extra 10 years, say wonderful boffins. Wonderful boffins, so we should be all right. I mean,
what kind of scientific study is that?
Well,
Say
wonderful
boffins.
say wonderful boffins.
I love.
I'm not believing any of this rubbish. Also, 32 minutes
sounds
for a
all right
boiled
to me.
egg. That
Sounds
sounds like a
good to me.
disgusting
I'm sure the
boiled
data
egg.
analysis is perfect.
I love newspaper science where it goes, eating broccoli 4 times a week can increase your libido by 40%, says the University of Sunderland. It's just nonsense.
There is this
Who is
little
researching
mystery
this?
class, isn't it, of boffins and experts and people who do stuff. And it's like, no,
Do you know
not
what we should
really.
do?
That's not how it really
Do you know
works.
what we should do? We should make up a fact, which is something like rubbing egg yolk on your teeth once a week will increase your life by 5 years, and just constantly go on about it until a newspaper picks it up
and puts it on the front page.
Absolutely.
The Metro. Bedlocked. Hospitals in crisis over winter vomiting bug. Warms filled to the brim as norovirus surges. And 13,000 spaces taken up by people fit enough to be discharged. Yeah, so bed blockers, although they don't
Is
like
this
us
still
calling
going
them.
on? Because I thought that by February, normally during the year, it starts to be a bit.
But there's
less
been a lot
busy.
more flus, I think, this year. Don't you
Yeah,
reckon?
there's been a triple.
I know
there's
a
been
couple of
triple
people who are
whammy.
young and healthy who have been down since before Christmas with the flu, and they've had like rounds and rounds of antibiotics.
And I had it twice. I had the flu, and now I had it again.
I've had
for
nights
weeks.
out like that, if I'm being totally honest.
And James Wales, of course.
I've
got it
luckily
bad.
made it through winter so far without getting
touch
sick.
wood.
So my immune system seems to be working, thank God.
Well, that's fascinating.
I would not want to be an old person living in Britain right now because
Just in general.
if I was
It's
having
no
a
fun, I
heart
can
attack
tell you.
or something, I would not trust the NHS to save me. That's
What you
for
should
sure.
do is, if
When I
you
get old, I'm fleeing somewhere else.
A lot of people die just going to the hospital. Most dangerous place to go, hospital.
If you are having a heart attack, then what you need to do is phone up the ambulance and say you've been misgendered. You'll be sorted then.
They'll be around in a minute.
By the way, the most important time-honoured rule of the NHS is don't have a heart attack at the weekend, because they work 9 to 5 Monday to Friday.
Very, very selfish to have a heart attack at the weekend. Jack's back with a new scary movie. I've no idea who he is because we don't really know who film stars are anymore because they're not really stars, are they?
Well, we're all watching streamed shows, aren't
Yeah,
we? What
yeah,
used
exactly.
to be box sets is
Box
what
set-
we're watching.
yeah, exactly.
Documentaries, that sort
The
of
big
thing.
actors all want to be on Netflix on a long series now, don't they? They don't want to...
100%.
And 60 Seconds with Jimmy Page. I wonder what that's like. Anyway, that's that one. The Daily Mail at 50. I was bullied out of my job by overindulged and spiteful snowflakes. And this is sort of what we're talking about. So we were talking about that earlier. And banks cut interest rates but forecast flatlining growth with rising inflation as Labour takes us back to 70s nightmare. I saw David Frost, Lord David Frost, not the other one. Well, he died, so it wouldn't be him. And saying we're going into bankruptcy if something... Well, I don't know if they can do anything.
I'll tell you what annoys...
It's pretty critical, this.
I'll tell you what annoys me. This is complete and total garbage. The reality is, the reason why people are spending more money is because of inflation. And what is causing inflation is quantitative easing and banks, fractional reserve banking, basically printing money, right? What Rachel Reeves and others seem to think is happening is that people are buying more stuff. They're not. They're paying more for existing stuff, particularly when it comes to things like energy
and food.
Oh, I mean, it's the age-old economic argument, isn't it? This truly.
She doesn't understand
truly
basic economics. She doesn't understand that putting up taxes doesn't cause economic growth.
Well, the public sector.
She's like all baffled, like, oh my God, there are millionaires leaving the country after I put taxes up. How could that possibly happen?
Wealth is
I thought this was a budget for growth. She is an idiot.
And they're paying all the public sector.
But she thinks expanding the public sector is expanding the economy. She
calls it investment. She calls it investing in our public service.
But they don't make money.
That's
the private sector pay for
socialist stuff. Yeah. It's not the case. You don't solve any problems by taxing more or by spending more.
The reality is the Labour government believes that you can spend your way out of debt and borrow your way out of debt. The more we borrow, the less debt we'll have.
Our interest is 100 billion a year. Just the interest on our debt is 100 billion a year.
And the government needs inflation to solve that problem, because if they get inflation, then the debt goes down. So there's a clash of
stagflation. Inflation is a transfer of wealth from poor to rich, and I'll explain really simply for those people who've not heard me say this before. If your house goes up by 20% in value and the cost of it is to pay 25% extra for food, those people with houses get money at the expense of people who are just buying food. Simple as that. Because what happens is, if you don't have a house, you get the additional cost of the food, but not the uptick on the assets.
And don't miss Jan Moir. That's Vic Reeves' real name, but he writes under his real name in the Mail. Don't miss Jan Moir on Meghan, the Marie Antoinette of Montecito. Now, apparently a lot of celebs went to the forest fires but didn't get publicity about it, but she obviously did. But apparently she's really disliked and hated with all, they're all trying to distance themselves from her.
What, Meghan?
Meghan, yeah.
Yeah. And
would you distance yourself?
I don't think I would
I'm glad you finished that. I'm glad you finished that sentence. Would you? What?
Are you going to watch her cooking show? Are you going to? Because she's apparently an amazing cook that we never all knew about.
I have better things to do with my life than watch Meghan Markle making marmalade. No, thank you.
Would you rather go back to Syria?
Yes, I actually would. Yeah. It would be so painful watching Meghan Markle make jam, and she put on her kid.
Do you reckon she can make quality tomb?
Marmalade.
Quality
tomb. Lebanese garlic sauce.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Valley of the Kings. No.
Right, we're going to do that now. We've got a little clip of something that happened the last time Chloe was on. This happened.
You're going to go as well, aren't you?
You've got your new show coming up, though. Tell her, remind us about that Channel 4, the documentary. What's it?
Channel 4, yes. We haven't got the official release date. It's called Go Back to Where You Came From. Very
and she went to Syria, Mogadishu, and it's all about life there. And you nearly got bombed, not...
by the Turks.
That is the best mistake ever. Leave it in.
And you can see that on Monday on Chloe's show.
You can't see that because it didn't happen. She almost got bombed.
Oh, yeah, that's what I meant. Yeah, no, you never see the other. There are no cameras.
How many times has that been replayed? There'll be more viewers if they think that...
And, we basically...
to be honest with you, it's standard fare on Channel 4. Yeah. It won't be a particular shock, will it?
So we're facing stagflation, that's the
Rachel Reeves, I mean, she's a disaster, isn't she?
Well, she looks so... She's a rabbit in the headlights at the moment.
She looks
really
so
is. She's very robotic.
She looks so depressed.
She looks terrified.
She does not even blow dry her hair before going and sitting on the front benches.
Well, neither did Ken Clark.
Oh, God.
She looks like a complete mess. If you have a fringe, you need to sort it out. She sits there looking like she's just rolled out of bed. I mean, have some basic... care for yourself, woman.
I'll be honest with you, Chloe, this is the first time you've ever done this, but my principal criticism of Rachel Reeves is not the quality of her blow drying. I mean, I think there are
more economic.
There are other things on the list, if I'm being totally honest.
No, but you're right, though, because where's the people? Where's the people advising her?
When you see her there looking like a mess, it just adds to the sense of this woman doesn't have her act together. Yes, exactly.
And all that time, all that run up to the budget, for the Halloween budget, what was it, 3 months, 4 months?
Yeah.
And we ended up with national insurance going up, the farmers now protesting, all of these things that people have slowly worked out. Goodness me, none of us have escaped. And now with this interest rate coming down, because in many ways growth is projected to be lower, you're actually saying it's just completely unravelled.
Her solution to the public finances is just to tax more.
Well, this is the problem. This is the problem. They're thinking now, do we need to go back to the drawing board and tax more, instead of saying, actually, no, we shouldn't have. Just stop taxing.
Do you know the thing that I find extraordinary? When the public sector go, oh, we've got no money, please, we need more. And you think,
well, where does it go?
50% of all earnings are now spent on the public sector. What should it be? 80%?
Swishy big black
Most households are on the social rather than they're getting more in than paying taxes.
There's no no accountability for where taxpayer money goes. And we just talked about DEI money being spent. It's being spent on things that are crazy. And in the US, we're seeing things come out from the Biden era where money was being spent.
Isn't it funny that DEI costs lives, doesn't it? And it's an anagram of die.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway. I mean, the thing with this is it would not be so infuriating for the British public if it weren't for the lies that we were told. If we weren't gaslit by the Labour Party saying, your energy bills, they're going to be cut by 300 quid. We've now got the GB Energy chairman saying, I've got no idea when that's going to happen and it's not my job. We were told that we weren't going to raise taxes on working people. They're just taxing us to death now, and we've just had the national insurance, a council tax, as well as national insurance rises approved. And then, we were told, we're going to grow the economy, we're going to have a budget for growth, and then we just get this. If they were at least honest and said, look, guys, it's going to be a mess for a while before the election.
Well, they were like that before the budget, weren't they? They were saying...
Well, they weren't before the election. They wanted to get their votes before they were honest with us. They're complete compulsive liars. I've had enough of it.
Here's the thing that I don't get, right? They keep going, our Green Deal will cut your energy bills. It has never happened. There has been no example in the world ever where new green technologies cut your energy bills.
We're paying 5 times what the Americans pay.
I used to get, what is it, Donica, that bloke. He'd come on and he'd go, Donica McCarthy, he'd go, green energy is cheaper than fossil fuel. You go, but why is it that every time we bring in these green technologies, your bill goes up 5 times over?
And
same in Germany.
With the fracking, we're obviously stopping the fracking, fine. But why pour concrete down those wells? Why make them unusable forever instead of just saying we're gonna mothball them?
But Mike Graham,
but if there's another invasion,
I mean, there's a whole theory about
the invasion of Russia. We didn't see that. Well, it was ultimately seen to happen. But you need energy security. It just seems the dumbest thing to do.
Well, the thing is that these people who want us to have net zero or not zero, is they say, it's all about energy security. We can't be reliant on oil and gas. We need to have our wind turbines and whatnot. Yet at the same time, they're doing what you're saying, pouring cement.
Mothball it. Put it round put barbed wire there, but don't pour concrete.
You can't rely on wind energy in this country. When it was too windy the other day, they have to turn them off, and they have to pay those companies for having to turn them off.
It's a constant ongoing problem that we just have a national grid with barely any capacity whatsoever.
But the whole stupidity of the thing.
And have to turn the turbines.
What is it that the RSPB, Royal Society for the Protection of Birds, say that wind turbines are good for birds? Like you're just making
a holiday, do they? Let's face it, we don't see a bird holidaying.
So if you fly past one, it will chop you in half. Oh, that's perfect. Yeah, it's great. And they came up with some ludicrous argument, which was because the pollution levels drop as a result of wind turbines, the overall effect is positive.
The birds like the challenge.
A bird in hand is worth 2 sliced.
Can they not see the wind turbine ahead of them and just fly around it?
Well, don't ask them.
Birds are pretty
I mean, that's what they said.
They fly into windows, don't they? They fly. I had one come through the window.
Maybe a few dumb ones. I mean, I'd be interested to see the actual mortality rate.
Can I tell you, a pigeon flew into our house, and I got my gas-loaded air pistol and loaded it up, and my mum and dad said I couldn't shoot it. I said, well...
Yeah, quite right. I took mine to the vet. Well, my neighbours did. I was a bit scared of all the flapping.
Oh, they weren't. Yeah, when they're in the corner,
it was like Alfred Hitchcock in my lounge. This big wood pigeon.
I often find they get on the train between sort of Victoria, London Bridge.
And why do they always crap themselves when they get in a room? Always, everyone all over.
Well, hang on a second. If I ended up in your house with you walking around your underpants, I'd probably poo myself in fear.
A lot of people do. Also, look at this. This is the present from Netanyahu to Trump. It's a golden pager, and it says it's beautifully mounted. It says "Press with both hands." And this is basically a golden version of what was given to all the Hezbollah terrorists when they were all blown up and maimed. It was designed so that you had to press both buttons, and that would be so you'd be holding it in your face so it would have the most effect. And they didn't want to kill them, they just wanted to maim them. And this was given by Netanyahu to Donald Trump, and on it says, "To President Donald J. Trump, our greatest friend and greatest ally, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu." And they haven't always got on that well, but at the moment they all seem to be on the same page.
I'm struggling with that. Is that friendly? Because that's going to blow up.
A toy bomb.
No, it wasn't a loaded one.
A toy bomb. What a heartwarming thought. And it even has press with both hands so it takes both your hands.
So you really get it right.
Isn't he going to have problems? It was so it would blow in their face, because obviously if you hold it with both, it's right in your face. But is he going to get that through customs when he gets back to the States on Air Force One?
President, Prime Minister.
You know what? The TSA, they are terrifying. You do not mess with them at the airport.
Do you know what I would...
I had one scream at me because I didn't have a mask on during COVID.
Where was this?
This is in the US.
In the US.
Yeah, I've been screamed at so many times. If you don't put your laptop in the right tray, they'll come screaming at you like, "Why isn't your laptop in the right tray?" They're insane.
Yeah, I complained when I went over the land border at Niagara. I walked over from Canada to the US, and they said, "Oh, that'll be $10." When I came back, and I said, $10? I'm only going to be there for 5 minutes. They said, "I think that's a good price to come into the United States of America." And I just paid up at that point.
Can I say, if somebody gave me a replica pager bomb, I would say the following words: "Oh, you old softy." I mean, that is expert level, isn't it? So, Mr. President, what a heartwarming thought. Let's get you a toy bomb.
I am struggling to work out the symbolism of it, but I'm taking it in the best possible light.
Regardless.
I mean, it's even mounted on wood that's showing the concentric circles of the shockwave.
I wonder if it's actually, because it wouldn't surprise me if they did actually make gold or gold plate it properly, because it's for Donald Trump and he does like his gold.
Everything's gold, yeah.
He loves
also, the best thing about this
gold.
is, this would have been a huge insult to any of the presidents, but Trump will love it and show everything.
It'll be in the Oval Office next to the Churchill bus.
Churchill's back out.
Thank God for that.
Are we taking a little breaky? Don't forget Mike Graham is coming up shortly. He's just there. Mike, you've got a bit of croissant down here. Oh, thanks, Ash. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes. Okay, this is the press preview with Andre Walker and Asher Gould and Chloe Dobbs and Tom Harris. Okay, what have we got next?
We've got the eye paper. Look into the eye, not around the eye, into the eye. And it says, Trump digs in on Gaza takeover. He wants to level it all out. Well, it's already been lay concrete and build a sort of Trump med, like lots and lots.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
A MAGA strip.
It is a cure to the problem.
I think it's a brilliant idea because what you do is you go, right, we're going to move the entire population, because I mean they need time to rebuild it anyway. Move the entire population to a purpose-built place that's going to be run properly by another country, and then in the meantime, the Americans come in and do all the things that Hamas would never do. Build the port of Gaza, create economics, do free trade deals, etc., etc., etc. Otherwise, what's going to happen is these Hamas people are going to just come back, trouser all the aid, and have another pop at Israel when they get back on their feet.
I mean, that's the thing, is everyone's all excited that we've got a ceasefire deal, but I was looking at this thinking, well, what are they doing to make sure that Hamas does not grow again and does not end up just working towards another October 7th? So, I mean, I presume that after he builds these Trump Towers or whatnot in Gaza, that he's going to bring them back there. And
I think you would have to give people the right to come back. But the one thing that Hamas is afraid of more than anything else is free trade deals in Gaza and a port and a proper functioning economy. Because the minute that happens, they can't stick their hand in the till for the aid money. And so I guarantee you they will never rebuild Gaza unless the Americans step in. So you might think it's radical, but bluntly, I think it's the right thing.
Or is it a negotiation? Because is the art of negotiation. Is he just saying that as a start?
Far. You go right out to one end, and then what seemed radical suddenly seems reasonable.
Now, I know that Trump is a good negotiator, but is he actually going to convince other countries to take these people? Because remember, this is a population that has been very radicalised and indoctrinated by Hamas. There are also plenty of Hamas terrorists who dress up as civilians, as we saw when after there was the ceasefire, suddenly they found their uniforms again to party.
They were all fresh.
All these other countries, are they really going to want to take a load of Palestinians?
Let's just be clear.
Might be
if they get a few billion quid.
If Hamas, along with the Gazan population, was moved to Saudi Arabia, I think you'd find that they're not quite as squeamish as the Jews, bluntly.
Yeah,
they won't have it. They won't have it. They'll drag. The Israelis are all sat there going, "Oh, let's put them in prison and do a prisoner swap." They'll just behead them. They'll just say, right, we're not having any of this. And actually, I'm not advocating that, but I will say one thing. The reality is Hamas need to drop dead, and somebody needs to take over that territory.
Well, this is the problem that was right from the beginning. What happens the day after the ceasefire, the day after the war? And there's been no obvious.
Well, to be honest, people keep going. The war's not over. It's a ceasefire.
It's a ceasefire.
Good point. There's not actually peace. It's just a halting at the moment. So people seem to think it's all over.
Yeah, and also good point you make, Andre, about the fact that you send them somewhere like Saudi Arabia, they'll just deal with them. The reality is that will not be anywhere near as controversial as if Israel did that, because I mean we know no Jews, no news. That's the way it works. Muslims killing other Muslims, no one seems to bat an eyelid.
Yeah, exactly.
It's absolutely right. And unfortunately, what the Hamas terrorists were concerned about, they were worried about the risk of peace breaking out in the Middle East. That's why they committed the egregious crime of the 7th of October. They wanted to do something so bad that no Israeli government could let them away with it.
And it's very good as well that Trump is putting the screws on Iran as well, recognising who's been the puppet master behind so much of this with the various.
And there's no partner for peace because Mahmoud Abbas and the Fatah, they're not going to. They're almost as bad as Hamas. So there's no partners for peace. Julia Bradbury, she used to work here a bit, and she had cancer, but she says getting cancer saved my life. It was an epiphany. So Julia Bradbury on her health and wooing John Travolta.
Hang on a second. Is that bloke Ollie Alexander still going on about the Eurovision thing? He said I'm going to make the gayest ever Eurovision performance and got no public votes.
Oh, that's it.
Because
was he the British
singer? because let's walk as a bloke walking around the thong goes down well in Belarus, right? People running to the...
But also the hypocrisy of this guy. He said, "Oh, the British flag makes me feel uncomfortable," and then when dancing around in a bikini top with a glittery British flag on it.
Tell you what made me uncomfortable is
you weren't looking for consistency
I'll tell you what made me uncomfortable his personality, his performance, his song, his outfit, and just everything that he did. And then at the end of it, he was going, "Oh, we got no public votes." Like literally, it's been beamed into the homes of Kish now, right? Where it's going, oh, there's a man with a thong. Pick up the phone, Boris, and vote for that one. That's not going to happen.
We don't get any votes even when they're good now, anyway. So I mean, when it's like
it gives me some hope that woke is not winning if he didn't.
I remember that year at Eurovision when Rise Like a Phoenix, Conchita Wurst won, and the British had voted for those Polish ladies with the large breasts. They'd come number one in the public vote.
I just want Terry Wogan back to do it. I mean, it's not going to happen, obviously, but I just think he was just brilliant.
He was brilliant.
He used to just get slaughtered, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he would always say, "I wonder who they're going to vote for," and then
now the vote from Cyprus. I wonder who they're going to vote.
Sweden. Who are they going to support?
The Baltic bloc. Here we go.
Right, there's also, like the Star earlier, the iPaper are also got the perfect egg, takes 32 minutes, perfect boiled egg, so I don't know what that's all about, but it's major news today.
Gosh, it must be a slow news day if that's on 2 front papers, I have to say.
EU divisions over fishing boost PM's Brexit reset hopes. Yeah, we don't want any of that.
Sorry, could we just ask ourselves, why has every paper run a story about how to boil an egg?
Well, we all eat eggs. It's a big story, isn't it? I mean,
quasi science just is the thing, isn't it?
32 minutes. I mean, what's
I'm sure it doesn't even mention temperature. Doesn't mention
context. It must be a low temperature.
Doesn't mention
because some people boil an egg by boiling the water, then taking it off and just dropping the egg for about 10 minutes. I mean, maybe this is a sort of version of that.
32 minutes.
No, I mean maybe it's a beautiful egg if you.
And also, you want different eggs to be in different kinds of.
Lest we forget that time when the producers got me to eat haggis, which I very much like, and they microwaved it for 18 minutes. Right? It was like sheep-based napalm in my mouth. I was like,
He had that ready breck orange glow around him for the next 3 days.
It was absolutely horrendous. I put it in. It was like just a big piece of coal. And
it was lava, molten lava.
They go, see, we told you didn't like it. Didn't like it. It's about.
There's nothing to taste. It's just temperature.
Yeah, that's right. It's like the Sizewell B nuclear reprocessing plant is cooler than that, and it's got
chewing on Mount Etna.
For the last bit on there in the opinion piece in the iPaper, Farage is signing wine bottles for MPs, and what Farage has got to be careful because he's going around celebratory a bit, and you don't want to peak too soon. Remember what happened with Neil Kinnock when he went, "We're all right, we're all," and then suddenly he was out. So Farage has got to be careful, all being boasting.
Multiple
because British public don't like that.
Where you made the first Kinnock in 1,000 generations to get to you. I'll tell you what. I remember I was doing a tour of Parliament when I worked there in about 2012, and Kinnock was just happened to be doing the tour for his own guests, and he was stood at the opposition dispatch box, and somebody went, "He's not still going on, is he?" After all these years, he clearly Kinnock's here.
Daily Express, Reeves wake-up call on putrid figures. We were talking about earlier, Rachel Reeves has been put on notice after putrid economic growth predictions were slashed in half. Bank of England chief forecast that the growth would be a mere 0.75% this year and warned of a summer inflation spike. Critics claim the dismal figures should be a wake-up call for the Chancellor. Well, I think she already knows, but I don't think there's anything she can do about it.
Didn't she, when she was looking for growth ideas, who did she go and ask? She went and spoke to the regulators, the police officers of the financial world.
Who don't know anything. She should be speaking to businessmen.
Here are the rules. Now make sure they're doing their business according to the rule book. And goes and ask them. Why not go and ask the business people?
Yes, that's right.
Alan Sugar, Charlie Mullins, Theo Paphisis.
Our success stories.
You've got business people writing to Rachel Reeves, begging her to change track on her horrendous tax hikes, and she's just closing her ears and not listening.
And so maybe the regulators are the only people that are left to talk to.
I know, no one else wants to talk to.
Nobody else wants to talk.
It just came across as, desperation, too little, too late. You've had 14 years to sit on the opposition benches and come up with your plan for growth. And what have you done? Sat there twiddling your thumbs.
And Starmer can't really do anything because if you get rid of your Chancellor, it's bad on, you as Prime Minister.
We need to grow the private sector. I know, let's ask the public sector.
Yeah, and she's also jumped on Keir Starmer's bandwagon of when the going gets tough in the UK, just go to another country.
The tough line.
Markets won't
when
turmoil, and she
come
just
back with a
decided,
great deal from
I'll
China.
go to China.
When the going gets tough, invite over your vocal coach for Christmas dinner.
I think we sound quite angry at the moment, don't we, with what's
angry.
going on?
Although the big question is, which house do you invite the vocal coach over to? By the way, I got told the story the other day. Princess Anne is on the front page, and
see for yourself. Look, there she is.
One of my mates was running a clothing business, and Princess Anne came to visit. And apparently, one of the guys there had a 4-year-old daughter, and they went, "You're going to meet a real-life princess." And when she walked in, not in a big pink dress, and was about 70, the kid went, "That's not a real princess."
No.
Well, she's brilliant. She's the one that's really followed in the Queen's footsteps. It's a shame she really wasn't, the next
Queen. Do you remember what the Duke of Edinburgh once said about Princess Anne?
No.
If it doesn't eat hay or fart, she's not interested in it. That's superb. Superb.
Right, we've got to take a little break. He might, Graham, in half an hour, but join us back in 2 minutes.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
OK, this is the press preview with Andre Walker and Asher Gould and Chloe Dobbs, the political commentator, and Tom Harris, who's Director of Data at the Free Speech Union. OK, what have we got next?
Deaths from alcohol hit record despite fall for 25 to 59 age group. And this is apparently related to COVID, like what you were saying, when you were at home on house arrest, Deaths related to alcohol have hit a record high despite a fall in the number of 25 to 59-year-olds losing their lives to heavy drinking. A lot of younger people don't really go out and do that. They're all busy playing on their Tamagotchis and trolling people.
I'm teetotal. I'm one of those.
It's middle-aged.
Middle-aged people.
At home. A lot of home drinking.
People who just drink a bottle of wine. They think that I had a mate who used to only drink a couple of pints and he died in his 40s and he was only having a couple of pints.
I know it's part of British culture to get completely smashed whenever you drink.
Yes.
I just don't like it. And I hate seeing all the vomit on the floor when you walk round.
He wouldn't know
the following day.
I
know it's part of British culture.
You don't drink a lot. Are you a communist?
I'm not a communist.
Well, in my view, people who have vegetalist tendencies and don't drink booze should be castigated as communists.
Well, I'm a great believer in quality of drinks. So, if you've got a nice bottle of wine, open up, have a couple of nice glasses. But,
and the Americans are civilised. In America, they have one or two drinks and then they stop.
Screw top you can, but you can't leave it too long.
Civilised human beings, not insane Brits who have to be in a pool of vomit to be happy.
There is nothing civilised about the country that gave us Bud Light. I mean, that is an act of savagery in of itself. And I don't care about Dylan Mulvaney. If you like Bud Light, you're a communist.
But they've got very nice Californian wines you can get.
I'm all right with California wines. I'm all right with California wine. I'll tell you what I was drinking the other day. Oh, this is so bratty. I was drinking Stolly Bolly. Champagne and vodka, the alcoholic's choice. I've got a cocktail machine in my house, you know.
Well, I was looking at what gives you hangovers, and vodka's the best for not giving you a hangover.
Cleanest.
It's the cleanest.
Well, that's what they say.
That's what they say.
Everybody, you heard it here first. Just drink vodka.
That's not a scientifically proven.
No.
But when I used to do That Was the Woke That Was, I used to regularly neck a pint on the show, and we had to pretend it was non-alcoholic because of the regulator. That is a non-alcoholic pint. Is it really? It's in a neck oil glass. So people. Well, I will say one thing on a serious note. I do think, I've said this plenty of times, the house arrest as a result of COVID got people drinking. I was sat on my own. My mum was dying, and you know what? You started drinking at 5, and then it was 4, then it was 3.
Takes the edge off the day.
Oh, absolutely. And it ended up where I'd get out of bed and start boozing and just booze for the whole day.
Well, the bottle goes down very quickly. I mean, I've noticed this. I thought it was just a malfunctioning bottle, but apparently it was...
Well, my uni mates would Zoom each other and sit and just get completely sloshed until 5 in the morning, some even later, on Zoom every single night.
And they have drinking games. Like there was someone phoned in from, I think, Southampton or Essex, and they said, every time I do this, these girls all have a drink. They had this drinking game, apparently.
Oh, God.
So they do that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think the key thing that I would suggest to anybody, my advice, is claim they take the recycling every month. Because just say those bottles are collected monthly. That's monthly.
10,473 Britons suffered alcohol-related deaths in 2023. The latest data available, which marks a grim rise from 2022.
And are we going to put that on Chris Whitty's record? Are we going to say to Whitty, Van Tam, and all those people who said, well, stay home and save lives, are we going to include these people that drank themselves to death?
Well, I doubt they will fit that into the COVID inquiry, because all they talk about is, oh, you called someone a naughty word on WhatsApp during the pandemic. Who cares? Stop wasting our public money on
All you need to know about the COVID inquiry is you can't give evidence unless you've tested negative for COVID, right? That shows you that they're loonies, because nobody
is that right?
Nobody's the only people testing everyone for COVID are the COVID inquiry. And basically what they're just going to say, the result will be the lockdown was insufficiently draconian. That's what that's
madness. The number of deaths was 4.2% higher than last year, but actually it's 38% up since 2019. So it really is COVID related, isn't it? Yeah. That's enormous. That's almost like 50. Well, it's 38%.
That's scary.
Sir Ian Gilmore, chairman of the Alcohol Health
population
Alliance.
Adjusted.
I don't know, yeah, you might be right, yeah. He said it's because of cheap, easily accessible alcohol and aggressive marketing. Well, no, it's not. And called on the government to prioritise tackling the crisis. And
I wonder if this idiot Ian Gilmore has considered the fact that in Scotland they brought in minimum pricing and it made no difference to drinking whatsoever.
No. Also, another thing is, if one of your friends starts going downhill and you see them on a regular basis, someone's probably going to pick up on it quite quickly and maybe
you often can't
make
do
an
anything,
intervention. But in lockdown, where we just didn't see anyone for months on end, a lot of people wouldn't have got picked up by their mates that they were going downhill.
Can you ever affect someone who's you can't really stop
them. Well, you can if you give them more.
Yeah. Hair on the dog. Next story.
You can affect them in that way.
You can affect them. It's not the direction they were looking for.
Just have another one.
Daily coffee cuts diabetes risk by 10%, but don't add sugar. Coffee may cut your risk of type 2 diabetes, but drink it without sugar for the full benefit, although you still get some benefit. They studied 290,000 adults, nearly 13,000 developed type 2, found those who drank black coffee had 10% lower risk. The benefit was much the same for those who added milk, but adding sugar meant the risk of type 2 diabetes was only 5%, so it's still better to have the coffee with the sugar, but try and get rid of it. And the reduction in the risk of type 2 per cup was only... But anyway, drink coffee, man, because it's good. But yeah, you don't know, they used to say drink wine, a little bit of wine, it's good for you, but then they said, no, actually the best is to not drink any wine, and a lot of these is driven by the industries themselves, isn't it, a lot of these?
Oh, I never relieve anything health-related in these quack papers.
Do you drink
coffee? We're talking about coffee now.
Do you drink coffee?
I do sometimes, but apparently, if you have glaucoma in your family, you shouldn't. So, and I'm breaking the rules
because of the blood pressure thing or something.
I think so. On tea.
Well, that's a fascinating detail.
Well, it's important.
On tea,
I'll stop the traffic in Beijing, won't it?
Brits like to put milk in their tea, but I hate to break it to Brits. But the metabolism boosting effect of tea, there's a certain compound in it or whatever. The casein protein in milk wraps around it and stops the effect of it. So you will not have the nice metabolism boost from tea if you put milk in it.
Why?
If you have it as it is without the milk, you'll get a nice metabolism boost.
But it takes the astringency out of the tannin.
Why are you telling me about the chemical makeup of tea?
Because when I'm not talking about politics, I'm like a little science geek.
That'll get the ratings up, won't it? We must tune in. What is my metabolic rate when I consume
Did you chat about this in Syria when you were getting bombed by the Turks, nearly?
Actually, yeah, me and the cameraman were complete nutrition geeks. We were talking about this all the time.
What happened was the Turks were flying over with the drones about to bomb the place. They were all in trouble. They virtually had to go into the bunker, and somebody said, "Stop! Chloe, tell us about the metabolic rate that is solicited by having
Interestingly, they love tea out there without milk.
You didn't know you could roll it out.
They have tea.
Thank you, Tom.
They have tea without milk, but they put loads of sugar in it. They have a sort of thing on their back. And
look, I don't
they
mean
have lots of chai tea.
I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I think if they drank more, they'd be far less angry. If I'm being told. It's far too hot to not have
more
a beer.
angry. If
it's
far
far
too
too
what
hot.
Sort of drinker they are.
Far too hot to not have a beer. Far too hot.
And I think this is Daily Mail. You want to see your doctor? Your chances are now less than 50-50. Well, that's not bad. I'll take a bet on that. Less than half of GP appointments are now actually with a doctor, as patients are increasingly fobbed off with other staff. Most consultations in general practice were led by nurses, pharmacists, and physician associates. For the
my
first
doctor's
time.
Threatened to drop me recently because I use a private GP.
And has he dropped one before?
Well, even the private GP.
No. This is I'm registered with an NHS GP and have been for 20 years.
You hurt his feelings
but
by
I
going
haven't
private.
Turned up for so long.
They don't like it.
And they want my blood pressure for some reason. They're desperate for my blood pressure.
They're just starting on you.
And I just said, look,
because they found out you've gone private.
I need to be registered with you, but I'm not really going to see you unless I need to for getting into a critical.
Yeah, but what he's thinking is he's thinking I'm not making that much. Let's do everyone's blood pressure and charge the NHS a tenner each.
Is that the way?
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah, it is. I think that is right. It's
he's
the
basically saying, I'm not making enough money off this guy. Let's get him in and suggest he's got some problems that need to be dealt with.
So the fact that you've been their GP, they've been their patient for 20 years makes no difference. It's entirely.
Well, we don't get that. You don't get the same GP.
No, I know.
In the old days, they knew you and the family and
the name of my doctor is on all the correspondence. He retired about 5 years ago. It's still the same doctor that goes on.
He's coming from beyond the grave.
beyond the retirement. Anyway, it's very odd.
Right, we've got a little break. Oh look, hi Mike. Yeah, you better put your shirt on. He's topless walking around there. You're on in 15 minutes, and we'll be back in 2 minutes.
Moves like Jabba.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Sorry, I'm simply astonished by this piece of breaking news on the press preview on Talk. My mate Steve Birchall has given up drinking, right? No, I'm not joking, right? I mean, at last odds, he used to get about 6 in, right? I mean, unbelievable. Anyway, this is the press preview with Andre Walker and Asher Gould. Never make in-jokes, it's just a bad idea. And we've also got Chloe Dobbs, who is a star of Channel 4 television, and Tom Harris, who is a star of...
Who knows what?
Yeah, exactly.
He's a director of data. He's a data director. What he doesn't know about data isn't worth knowing. Anyway, look at this. £1 million to marry Andre. Yeah, you haven't told us about this, but apparently Kerry Katona has revealed she was offered £1 million to marry Andre. It was Peter Andre. Oh, really? The former Atomic Kitten star claims a magazine was prepared to hand her the cash. Anyway, so it's one of those sort of stories. And I'm doing me nut. Danny Dyer. Danny's winkle is in need of surgery, but if you read the article, it's not his winkle, it's his testicles. Danny Dyer has revealed remember it's breakfast, so let's keep the terms scientific. Danny Dyer has revealed he needs to have surgery on his winkle, but it's not that. The Cockney actor is preparing to get his big nut, it says here, treated as his dad keeps nagging him about it, Danny. And this is actually serious, because if there is a problem down there, you know, any loss...
So just to be clear, him and his dad sit there discussing his testicles.
Well, in the East End, it's traditional to sit there, you know, in the open, isn't it?
Danny, that's far too bulbous. That's far too bulbous.
It's a status symbol, and Danny is suffering from a hydrocele, which can cause scrotum to swell up with the fluid. Now, I know a bit about this, because James Wales famously had one big nut, and he had it when he had his kidney out, and the fluid can leak down. He found it hard to drive. It was like driving with a big watermelon between your legs. It was very uncomfortable, and it would chafe and get sores on the bottom. Do you remember that Buster Gonad? Anyway, we're keeping it scientific. So he'd drive around, and they basically suck it all out.
So can I just ask you one question as the director of data at the Free Speech Union?
Yeah, of course.
Has anyone told Danny Dyer how many people are descended from William the Conqueror?
No.
Because if he does the mathematics, he'll find that in the East End of London, he's not quite as unique as he thinks he is.
The 47-year-old...
It'll be about 500,000, won't it?
Well, I mean, I'm trying to work out how many lines you're going through between... Because it's only about, 3 generations a century? It's 10 centuries ago, so it's 30 generations.
It's a big number.
How does this relate to the story about his...
Because Danny Dyer, that was the best ever Who Do You Think You Are, right? But nobody mentioned to Danny Dyer that over 30 generations, a fair number of people were also in the same position.
Thousands of people.
10,000.
No, it's
hundreds of thousands.
2 to the power of 30, which I can't do on the.
And this is actually it is serious. If you do check your testicles, blokes, when you come out the bath, it's best to shower because the hot word. And if you find anything, go down to your doctors, because 90% of them is nothing. So, but always get it checked. If it's caught early, it's 100% curable. Anyway, Rayner, a bit of science there. Rayner cancels local elections and denies the vote to 5 million. So no representation without taxation, but or is it the other way around? Labour has been accused of imposing Orwellian reforms on local democracy after putting off elections to 5.7 million registered voters this May. This is like authoritarian government removing the right to vote because they know they're going to lose. They're making up all these reasons, but we all know why.
So just to be clear, you've done the mathematics.
You've done the mathematics. It can't be as simple as 2 to the 30 because that's a billion.
No, it's not, because remember, some people will be descended by 5 or 6 means, but basically, almost everybody in the country is in the same position.
We're talking about Angela Weiner, not...
Sorry. You got me on the maths question.
Residents in Norfolk, Suffolk, Essex, Surrey East and West Sussex, Hampshire and the Isle of Wight, Thurrock will have their council elections postponed until next year. And a lot of these are Tories as well.
18 out of 21.
Because they know that reform are on the rise and it's purely just gerrymandering.
They say it's delayed for 1 year. Do you
they're
really
abolishing the
think?
authorities.
Do you really think it's only going to take them 1 year to reorganise their authorities? They are going to annoy so many people when in a year's time they say, "Oh, sorry guys, we're not ready yet. We're going to delay it again."
Well, also
again,
remember,
and again.
remember,
Nothing happens quickly with local councils. That's one thing we know.
A load of doomed councillors will come up with a system that gerrymanders. Although I will say one thing about Angela Rayner. That is not the worst thing she's ever done. That mint green bibblewhack. It's just that trouser suit. That needs to be destroyed. That needs to be classified as a hate crime by the College of Police. It really does.
I know we get annoyed about people having professional photographers paid for by the taxpayer, voice coaching and whatnot. But you know what? I wouldn't mind if the taxpayer pays for a stylist for her, just so I don't have to look at her horrendous green outfits.
The mint green trouser suit is one of the most offensive things I've ever seen. Does she put that on and go, nailed it?
You go.
Yeah, look at that.
She probably sent it to the gals group chat, like, slay this morning, gals.
Yeah. And
they're all like, queen.
No, she's basically, it's like when you go to a sale and like shirts and they go, oh, I might as well have that colour because it's only a tenner, and it's like, it's pink.
It's the most ghastly with spots.
Absolutely. It's the one they just put in the shop just in order to dress up the front window.
Last orders for the old pub favourites, and this is Gen Z. Apparently they don't like all our traditional foods, and pickled eggs is down by 60%, pickled onions 49%. Sticky floors. They don't. What's
a sticky floor?
They don't. This is what the Gen Z don't like: patterned carpets.
Oh right. Sorry. I thought sticky floors was a type of food.
They don't like all our traditions, and apparently in pie and mash shops now, the few that are left are all closed, and no one's having their jelly deals and liquor and all that.
Got to be honest with you, I'm a big fan of pork scratchings.
It's the only food that you have that you don't complain if you get a hair in it.
That is true, actually.
Yeah. They don't like live bands, ginger ale, sports on TV or lager. I mean, what are they doing, this Gen Z?
I don't like most of the things on that
list. Are you
Gen
Z? You're Gen Z?
I presume so. I'm born in 2000.
But most
2000? Millennial, isn't that a millennial?
No, I think it's if you're born before 2000.
All right, so you are Gen Z. You are part. You don't like. Do you like pickled eggs?
No.
Do you know the thing that I most hate about live music?
I like Twiglets. Does that count?
No.
They sell those in pubs.
Do you like patterned carpets?
No.
Oh, she is?
There is a Facebook group where you post a picture of the Weatherspoons carpet and everyone has to guess which Weatherspoons it's in.
It's like a code, isn't it?
It's a book. I'll tell you the worst thing about live music, and I don't want to be disrespectful to any of my friends, but I always hate when you have a house party and somebody turns up with the guitar. Right, and basically sits there and does their own personal unplugged session despite having no talent whatsoever. And there's always one drunk woman going, oh, you're so marvellous. Can you play Kurt Cobain? No. Right, anyone who comes to my house with a guitar is removed immediately.
Unless it's Julian Bream who comes and plays gorgeous Johann Sebastian Bach pieces of music.
He is beautiful. Yeah, if he come round your house, you go, away you go.
So welcome to Times Radio. Oh, God.
So sorry, Andre.
Let's have a segment on Bach. Let's not.
Let's not. Yeah, you're vetoing it. Fair enough.
Here's another one. I think this is Gen Z as well. Ooh, hell! I've got a water allergy, and a teenager has more than 40 different allergies, including water. Chloe Ramsey, another Chloe.
You can't be allergic to water, can you?
How is that possible?
With 70% water.
Allergic to herself.
She's just shriveled up like Zelda from the Terror Hawk.
No, but remember, you had migrants being told to stay on the Bibby Stockholm who were getting these lefty lawyers to say they can't stay on it because they've got a fear of water.
Yeah.
They came on a boat.
I know.
They were blindfolded. Chloe Ramsey, who was born with food allergies and would pass out after eating bananas and potatoes. Well, you shouldn't eat them together. No wonder you're passing out.
What about when she has a glass of water? How does she hydrate?
Right, I'm just getting to that.
Okay.
Now she uses a spreadsheet to keep track of them. A spreadsheet. Why don't she just don't eat potatoes and bananas? But her most unusual is an allergy to water known as aquagenic urticaria. When unmedicated, showers cause her to flare up in hives, and getting caught in the rain can leave her wanting to scrape
it's a
skin off with the knife.
It's a skin problem. No.
You got any allergies, Tom?
No, none that I know of.
Lettuce and Liberal Democrats.
Yeah, exactly. But that sounds like it's not that she can't drink water; it's that her skin reacts.
So you have skin inside your mouth.
That's quite a serious thing.
I'll be honest with you, I don't care. No,
it is
I'm
interesting.
sorry for it, but I don't. No, it's not.
It is very interesting.
It is not interesting. What woman who comes out in blotches in the rain? Oh, who cares?
But it's like those poor kids who can't go in the sunlight, and they have to go and play
That's a horrendous.
at night time
with suits on. They have to go.
Yeah.
I mean, and she has actually got a suit. She said, if I was given potatoes or bananas, I would go blue and pass out, which sounds like anaphylaxis. But luckily, my reactions aren't that bad anymore. They change, but currently I can't eat foods like strawberries, kiwis, fruit juices. I mean, one thing is, I know, peanut allergies in Israel. They have Wotsits, but they're peanut sort of flavoured. They're called bamba, and all kids eat them, and they found that they don't really get nut allergies. So you've got to give I told this story on Grumpy Old Men, so yeah, you can watch me on Grumpy Old Men with Kevin.
So it's breaking news now on Talk that peanut allergies have declined in Israel as a result of
they are increasing here. Allergies are massively increasing.
Variety of Wotsits.
Eat your nuts, everyone. Eat your nuts. Back to Danny Dyer.
Everyone's absolutely.
This is a national crisis, Andre. We've got allergies on the rise. The whole of Britain in 5 years' time will be walking around wearing these suits because we'll all be allergic to water.
It's your fault, man.
That won't be the reason we'll be wearing those suits.
Right, have either of you we've got about a couple of minutes. Any of you want to talk about a story that any free speech stuff coming up, Tom? Loads going on, isn't there?
Yeah, I mean, free speech-wise, this has just been the most incredible few weeks, and we had I'm sure you've spoken about the former soldier who was found not guilty.
Yes, I saw that today. Yeah.
Yesterday or the day before. It's fantastic news.
I read it today.
So explain.
So he posted a video on Facebook in the wake of the Southport riots, and he was charged and prosecuted.
He's an ex-Marine.
He was a former Marine, Jamie Michael, and a really interesting fellow, actually. And
well, an amazing bloke if you're a Marine anyway, to get in the Marines.
I think he'd been in Iran and Afghanistan, so he'd fought for the country. And at every stage, we had pushed the CPS to drop, and his lawyer to drop this and say, look, this was just a video on Facebook, and he wasn't inciting anything.
Some
he was
people
just talking
about for filming riots.
Well, no, but he wasn't in any way associated with the riots. He was
but same with that girl who was just filming it. She got arrested just for being at a riot.
That's right. Live streaming now is.
Well, how's that? What's
but the good news is that this guy got a not guilty plea, and it was in 17 minutes.
Things are changing, aren't they?
The jury were out for 17 minutes.
Yeah. So. Anyway, get your phone calls in, because it's just your calls after this, 03444991000. So get them in and we'll ring you right back. And don't forget Mike Graham coming up after this. Andre? Anything?
Indeed. So it's 03444991000. We'll talk about any subjects. I mean, what about this idea? Have you heard about Tommy Robinson getting more isolation? Nobody's allowed to visit him anymore. Also, we can talk about the fact that Rachel Reeves has bilged up the economy, but I think we should mostly talk about what we are going to do about Keir Starmer and what we are going to do to save this country in the same way that Donald Trump has saved people. And also, if you want to talk about that glorious executive order when, they've supported women.
Thanks to the panel as well.
Tom
and Chloe. Don't forget Chloe's show on Monday and the Freedom of Speech Union. Join that if you want.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Okay, this is The Late Show and it's a phone-in, so you can get in touch. We've got 3 slots available. Let's just give you the number, 0344 499 1000. You can talk about whatever you want. And Robert is in Hertfordshire. Robert, you're on Talk.
Hertfordshire, Bob.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Just to let you know, 2 minutes ago it was my birthday, so if you want to be the first ones to congratulate me, 72 today.
No,
we're not. Oh, you've ruined it.
Happy birthday, Robert.
We were going to do nothing. We were just going to say.
I mean, we all have them. No, but happy birthday,
you
Bob.
Got to get there. Don't knock it. You got to get there yet.
I know you're right. What are you doing for this special day?
Nothing.
Nice
the
one.
same as every year. Nothing.
Yeah, man.
Well, phoning you up. Phoning you up. It's more important to speak to me friends on Talk.
That's right.
Okay, in reference to what you were talking about earlier about wokeism. Me and my wife are avid fans of Lingo on an afternoon quiz show with Aldil Ray.
Bingo.
I don't know if you ever watch it. It's brilliant. Yeah, it's a brilliant show. But you've got 3 couples there.
Oh.
And three
hold on. That's presented by Aldil Ray.
That's right.
Do you like him? I mean, you don't like him, though, do you? It's the format you like. Wouldn't you rather it was like Bob Monkhouse or someone like that presenting?
No, I like him, and they mucked it up when they put it on a Saturday night and put Raoul Paul on there, which was terrible.
But he's a bit. I had a big argument on Broad Street in Birmingham with Aldil Ray. We had a big bust up outside a sort of gig.
Really?
Yeah, he's so woke. You know what I mean?
He's basically a communist.
He basically said that someone said, "Oh, this is Ashram's Talk," and he goes, "Oh, that's that far right station," you know, and I went, that sort of got me going, and we ended up having this.
Normally, with somebody like Adil Ray, I would normally just say lamented the fall of the Soviet Union. I don't know if that's true.
That crap comedy series he did, you know what I mean? It was between that and Citizen Khan, between that and Mrs. Brown's Boys. I mean, it really was.
Nothing is worse than Mrs. Brown's Boys.
Well, I don't know. You should try that out. I mean, it was all full of that stereotype stuff.
Actually, you cemented what I was going to say, because there's always 3 couples. You always have a Muslim couple, a gay couple, and me and my wife call them the ordinaries, the normal. But
you never see a Quaker couple, do you? Or a Mormon couple?
There's only
or
6
throuple in a Mormon, wouldn't it?
There's only 6 people there, and they all
Scientologists.
but they don't represent a third of the population, do they? It's the same as the gay. You know, they always have a gay couple, but the gay couple do not represent a third.
Yeah,
of the British population.
And you couldn't have Mr. and Mrs. now, could you? Because you'd get arrested for it. You'd have to have Mr. and Mr. and Mrs. and her and them and they.
Do you not think when you're watching...
Imagine the song at the beginning.
Do you not think when you're watching like A Place in the Sun, it's 2 blokes or 2 birds, you think, are they mates or not? Yeah. I always think that.
Yeah.
I always think it's just suspicious of that relationship.
Andre, I want to ask you a question.
Go for it.
Shoot.
Related to, you know, you're a Mason, aren't you?
I am.
I want to ask you a question. Before we moved up here to Hertfordshire, we lived in Clerkenwell Green.
Yep.
You must know Clerkenwell Green because the Session House was the headquarters of the Masons.
Yeah, but Clerkenwell Masonic Centre, I think, closed before I became a member. But I did know that one of my mates was a member of a lodge where literally they were one of like the 20 owners of the building and they got some enormous amount of money.
Why do they close then? Because I thought, you know, they just go on, don't they? Because they just not get members.
Because the Covent Garden, the Grand Lodge, is that bloody big that it just costs a fortune to run, so they get as many to meet there as possible. So, I've never been in the Clerkenwell Centre.
What's it like, Bob?
Yeah, well, it's steeped in history. It used to be the Sessions House, or when they sent you to Newgate back in the day. All that is steeped in history. But my mum had a friend in her flats, and her husband was a Mason. Now he died, and my mum went up there, and they had him at home in a coffin. And on the morning of you might be able to clarify this or tell us what they do. On the morning of the funeral, a load of
Masons, not Muslims.
A load of Masons turned up, and they wanted to be on their own with the body to do some sort of I don't know what
ceremony,
it was.
some process.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. Funnily enough, my former MP, James Grundy, it's something like his great-granddad had something similar. What I know is that they've banned quote-unquote Masonic funerals some time ago. I don't know what the ceremony was. I don't know what they did. But the reason why they got banned was because wives were going crazy about the fact they weren't able to attend the ceremony of their dead husband.
I know in a Jewish tradition, when someone dies, someone will always sit with the body before it's buried. There will always be a friend or family member that stay, because you get buried very quickly, but there will be someone...
You shiver, don't you?
Yeah, well, that's 7 days after the funeral, but specifically, if someone dies, there's always someone sitting with the body constantly until burial for some reason.
Come on, Andre, tell us what you...
Come on, tell us the truth. Spill the beans, Andre.
I honestly don't know. Yeah. I'll try and find out and get back to you. I honestly don't know. I just happened to have read a document somewhere where they said that they banned Masonic funerals. I don't know. I don't know what they consisted of.
Oh, I mean, I've been invited twice to be a Mason. Once about 40 years ago, and once about 15 years ago. That was the guy. He didn't invite me. He just gave me a grey book, and he said, "I want you to take this grey book away." And it
wasn't Eamon Andrews, was it?
To be honest with you,
it's a red book.
Well, when I went to meet them, it was all old Bill. It was all police. So
well, you should have joined. They're the useful ones to join, because it can get you off a speeding ticket.
I don't think it's as useful.
Not anymore.
Andre can tell us.
The police Masonic lodge is called the Manor of St James.
Being a Mason, Andre.
What's that say?
Have you ever had any favours being a Mason?
No! All they ever do is present me with a bill. That's all they ever do.
Yeah.
I mean, the reality is, because each lodge is so close-knit, the likelihood that you're going to know somebody down the road is also a Mason. I mean, I guess you could use the handshake, but it's not very common to do that anymore. But anyway, Robert, thank you so much. Ken is in London, who I suspect will have an alternative view on the subject of Freemasonry. Ken, you're on talk.
Oh, he doesn't like them.
Good evening, gentlemen. Yes, keep out of the Freemasons cult. Be careful. But I would like to speak about a very important subject. The coming Antichrist.
Right.
Where is
there is a man coming. Look at Donald Trump right now, how one man can affect the world.
Yes.
Donald Trump is not the Antichrist. He doesn't come from the revived European empire. But he is revealing some traits, and the world is looking to... Some in the world are looking to Trump to bring peace.
Is Trump in the Bible? Because Trump seems to be a power of good. Is he? How does he come out in the prophecies?
In the prophecies, it's absolutely amazing, Ash. You know, there's over 100 passages of Scripture describing the coming, the Antichrist, his origin. It describes his nationality, his character.
He's from the EU somewhere, isn't he?
The Bible is absolutely amazing. This man is spoken about in over 100 passages. The word Antichrist is only mentioned 3 times in the epistles of John. But this man, I believe, is very possibly alive and kicking right now, but he's unknown.
But I've heard the Antichrist.
Until the rapture.
One of the things in the Bible says the Antichrist will come with these new amazing technologies and everything. And I think Elon Musk, everything he invents is amazing. Is Elon Musk anything to do with this? Because I think he's very good. He's very great for the world.
That's
the Antichrist.
That's a lot of speculation. Nobody knows who it is, but the Bible says that he will not be revealed until the falling away happens amongst the
Ken, can I ask you this question? Somebody told me, and I might be wrong, that the Antichrist would be from somewhere in Europe and would come about because of a dictatorial government like the EU.
Yes, this is what's taught in the Scriptures. It's actually going to be a revived Europe. It's going to consist of 10 nations, 10 kingdoms. And the Antichrist is going to take them over. The Antichrist is going to take over this revived... Europe's going to become very powerful. Right now, they're pushing now for warfare in Europe. They're pushing billions and billions of euros into strengthening their armies.
Could Starmer be the Antichrist? Because, I mean, he's trying to get back in the EU. It wouldn't surprise me if he is the Antichrist. You'd think he would be, wouldn't you? The way he's acting.
But listen. See, in the Bible, it's absolutely wonderful. In the Bible, the Antichrist is described as being an intellectual genius.
Oh, it's not Starmer, then.
Powerful words. He's going to be a political genius, a commercial genius, a military genius, a religious genius. He's going to fool the world. And you know who's going to fool the world most? He's going to fool Israel. because Israel are going to be deceived to believe he is the Messiah, and he's going to deceive them.
But the thing is, when the Messiah comes, Ken, all the dead will rise. So if the dead don't rise from the Mount of Olives, they'll go, well, obviously he's not the Messiah then.
No, but this is going to happen after the first resurrection, Ash.
Well, after they've been resurrected?
It's after the rapture, which is the first resurrection. The dead will rise.
Wasn't that Blondie, rapture?
Listen, man. This is exciting for the Christian.
Sorry, I was mocking.
It's terrible. Sorry. Listen, there's chaos, destruction. Sadly, there's great wars coming, sexual perversions.
Well, we've already got that.
Promiscuity, drug addictions are rising.
We've already got all these, Ken. These are already happening now.
Ash, listen to this. No. This is all written in the Jewish Bible. And 2/3 of the
Well, and the Christian one, isn't it? It's the Old Testament. It's in your Bible. It's in all of them.
Read the book of Daniel, chapters 7 and 8. Read it for yourself.
Can I ask you this? Can I ask you this question?
He always gives us homework.
Ken, can I ask you this question? I'm looking at the United Nations now backing the terrorists in Gaza. I mean, is the United Nations a force for evil? Because I personally think it is.
Of course they are.
Of course they are.
No, there's no doubt about that.
Connected to revive Europe.
They were on the October the 7th raid, UNRWA, and they kept hostages in their house, and they let Hamas use... I mean, they have to be okayed. Every UNRWA worker has to be okayed by the Hamas governmental authorities. They're in on it. And look, most of the UN's made up by despotic tyrants. Look at the human rights America withdrew, Israel withdrew today, because it's all like North Korea were there moaning about women's rights. North Korea.
Absolutely.
And Iran running the Human Rights Council. I mean, the thing that they hang gay people
I want to ask Ken this question. Why are we so spectacularly incapable of pushing forward good in this world? Because, you know, I look at the number of dictatorial regimes, I look at the rise of secularism, I look at the rise of radicalism. You know, we don't stand up for our own...
it's greed and cowardice, because they won't, you know, if, like we were talking before, if you don't go with the narrative, you're cancelled and fired. So they all, you know, it takes a very brave person.
Andre, the Bible answers that question you just asked there. Why can we not do good? The Bible tells us the state of man's heart. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. That is why there's such evil in the world. And the only way to get the victory over the evilness that is in every one of us is to repent of our sins sincerely to the God of the Bible, and to believe in his Son, Jesus the Messiah, and ask forgiveness, and God gives us a new, clean heart. We're born again.
Hallelujah.
That is our only hope. But sadly, the Bible predicts that approximately 70% of the world are going to die on the coming tribulation judgment of God, and 2/3 of the Jews in Israel will die as rebels.
What about the Jews that aren't in Israel?
The Jews will be saved and repent and believe in Messiah. That's in Zechariah chapter 12, 13, 14. Read it, Ash.
Okay, Ken.
And Daniel.
Ken, thank you so much. We're going to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to be talking to Simon in Reading.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, this is Talk. 0344 499 1000 is the number to call. We've got a couple of slots available. Simon is in Reading. Simon, you're on Talk.
Hi there, Beelzebub here. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about maybe the parallels. I think we're just 4 years behind the USA.
Yeah.
If you look at the Biden administration and the antics they got up to with shutting down free speech, weaponising law enforcement, and all the stuff that they do, the DEI nonsense and all that sort of stuff. As soon as Trump gets into power, sensible stuff starts and they start to change it. Now, what is surprising to me is that Starmer's got an opportunity to turn himself from a lawyer into a leader here, because
I don't think he has the capability.
If he read the tea leaves, all he'd have to do is use excuses. You know, we've got to save money in the public sector. I know, let's close down DEI, because let's be fair, DEI, all it does is create victimhood and division within any organisation.
And kills people, you know. That's why people are drowning on these boats. That's why, you know, all wokery causes deaths. Look at the hospitals.
It's the only department in any organisation. The whole aim is to defeat productivity, because all it does is sideline that into division, and it's been going on for years, and it's just about time, because
But we've got 4 more years of it. Can we last that long? Our economy's in the gutter, and it's only going to get worse with Rachel from Accounts and Starmer. What's going to happen, man?
Rachel from
Accounts. I take the view, because the companies use it as a thing to do good. They want to improve. But I take the view that actually, if you want to have a truly diverse and productive organisation, then having in the organisation is an abject failure just to have it there, because before that
it's divisive. Diversity stuff is divisive.
I mean, I also saw in the news where they were going, McDonald's has dropped its DEI department. I mean, McDonald's is many things, but racist against ethnic minorities is just not one of them that I've ever detected.
But they got rid of Ronald McDonald. He was white. Ronald McDonald's white, and what about Hamburglar? You don't see Hamburglar anymore. He just quietly got removed. He's probably in prison for tweeting something about stealing burgers.
You're probably right.
You notice you never see Hamburglar.
No, you've certainly taken me off the track. Do you want to talk about Hamburglar, or do you...
No, what anything else you want to...
Let's have a look at a picture of Hamburglar.
Yeah, because you were quite young when he got removed from the... But, it kept balance with Ronald McDonald. But, of course, clowns are now seen as horror characters. And we can't let the kids, be...
Oh, Hamburglar was a big ginger, wasn't he?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And they're a minority, aren't they, gingers? They're a protected species now, aren't they?
That's DEI at work.
Yeah, man.
Anti-DEI stuff. But I was just going on to say, Starmer's got this opportunity. One such example is that, if you want to save money, do that. If you want to save money in the public sector, then why don't you just change some of the procurement activity where it would cost me in a shop like 30 quid for a photocopier, but if I want to buy one for an organisation, it's about £400
that's right.
plus a yearly thing. And I've seen it firsthand where you have to...
Well, the worst one was PFI, Private Finance Initiative, because everybody knows that the government can borrow money for cheaper than the private sector. So by contracting the private sector to borrow money to build hospitals, you actually paid more than you would have done if you'd done it yourself.
But they did good furniture, PFI, didn't they?
Then they pay a lease on most of the hospitals that are built. So actually, it's cost them like...
Of course it is.
Yeah, and it's like a 25-year contract, on these PFI. So you can't do anything about it.
What is a few million to build has cost them like a few billion in overall.
Yeah, that's right. But the reason they did it, we all know, is because it wasn't counted towards public sector borrowing for the purposes of EU budgets. Yeah. So Brune could just spend as much money as he wanted and get away with it.
Yeah, and it's just those sort of things. He's got this opportunity now to grasp the nettle and say, look, a watershed moment after Southport should have been like the deaths this week. That should have been a watershed moment. We don't need blunty knives. That's not going to solve anything. We're not going to We're not going to shave knives enough in people's kitchens. That won't work. I know what we do. We have some proactive policing. Now,
I thought that comment about knives was abject stupidity.
Yeah, absolutely. And to be fair, where I live in Reading, our force is actually doing something about it, and they're being very proactive about it. I mean,
why is it? Is it hell? What's going on in Reading then? Is it being, are they sorting out the crime there?
Yeah, they take quite a strong view on it. They're actually going out there and
police taking a strong view on crime. Who'd have thought?
Yeah, that's very new.
Yeah, well, the crime commissioner was on your programme, not yours, but talkTV.
His name is Matthew Barber.
Yeah. And everything he was saying was pretty good,
I'll tell you what I liked about Matthew Barber. When the Thames Valley Police publicly announced that a woman had raped somebody, and Matthew Barber said, "I'm sorry, it's a bloke," and just rebuked his own force.
I mean, Sadiq Khan was asked by one of the Reform MPs, he said, look, you could take all the money from the expensive DEI stuff you've done and you put it into knife crime in London, and he just mocked him, said, oh, well, you're not going to work for him.
Sadiq Khan, I'll tell you now, Sadiq Khan was the instigator of the reduction in stop and search.
Of course he was.
And when he came out, and effectively, I think it was Paddock or someone like that, when he came out...
Paddock
criticised the police so much that someone had to resign, and it was all about stop and search. Albeit, okay, there may have been some overzealous police officers doing it at certain times, but...
Well, I'd rather apologise to black kids who are annoyed about stop and search than bury them, and that appears to be the choice.
Well, that's the thing. It's not just it's mainly in London black kids that are getting killed, or kids of ethnic minorities. It's not so it's there's a lot of mothers out there who want more stop and search from that community.
And there was an opportunity there for the Home Secretary to say, look, enough's enough. We are bringing in some really proactive stuff.
But they politicise it, don't they? There was the Reform guy at the London Council who said, look, let's all do a cross-party thing. Can we work with us, Reform? And Sadiq Khan just came back flippantly, goes, we would never work with Reform. Because I mean, what utter contempt. There's kids getting killed.
He promised to continue, when he became mayor, he promised to reduce stop and search. Full stop.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
and when you look at if the police get the rein, the support of the government, if the police get the support of the government to do something, they'll do it. Look at the mobile phone stuff this last couple of weeks.
Okay,
they've covered like thousands of mobile phones. Well, that's because they've got they've got the grant, if you like. Look, go and do it. Don't worry about being called racist or anything.
Okay,
like that.
thank you so much.
Just cut him off.
Thanks so much.
No, thanks, Simon.
I've got to tell you what I saw when I was walking through Waterloo. Oh, by the way, can I tell you one thing that is an act of evil? Are you aware that there are 3 Park Plaza hotels all next to each other?
Well, she can end up in the wrong room, and that's going to cause you real embarrassment.
I was in the 3rd hotel. I went to the blooming one that was
ridiculous.
Westminster Bridge. Then I went to County Hall. Then I went. But anyway, as I was walking along towards the one that's called Waterloo, there was a bloke on a bike cycling past with a mask on, and I saw a woman desperately running after him. It's just completely out of control crime.
Were they looking for the Park Plaza and he just didn't know where it was?
Shut up, Ash. I'll tell you what. Let's tell you. To call 0344
give us a ring
1000. Let's go to Gemma in Staffordshire. Gemma, you're on top.
Lichfield.
Hello.
Morning.
Hello.
Morning, Gemma.
Anybody?
Gemma. Steve in Essex. We'll get Gemma back. Steve in Essex.
Hello.
What's going on, Steve?
Not too bad. I've got questions for you, no answers. One is, why they got the gold underneath the Bank of England? Mate is saying, we were in the shit street, but we've got loads of gold here. We'll get the gold out then.
It's worth a lot now, the gold, isn't it?
The only problem is, what it does is...
Yeah. Well, you got it, flog it.
Yeah. No, what happened? Gordon Brown did that, and it really undermined the currency, because the currency is at least in part based on the value of gold, and therefore it's not completely, but at least in part. And the problem is, it just creates massive inflation. If you think your house is going up in value, you're wrong. The value of money is going down.
Yeah, no. And as I was saying, you know what I mean? We're getting crushed. We're getting crushed. We've got to sick. Like, we got to wait for our fucking gold, like, you know what I mean? We're going on that.
There's there's all different types of
You know
gold.
what I mean? How many nerves? Sorry about you, Aaron.
Don't worry about it. It is a late night show. I think we can put up with it as long as it's not.
Apologies for the industrial language, but he was talking about gold.
Cheers, Ash. You're welcome.
All right, thanks a lot. By the way, I just want to ask you before we go to the next caller. We went to the Palladium for Figaro.
We did go to the London Palladium and we watched Figaro, and it was my cousin who was playing Figaro. I didn't realise.
So literally, we arrived, and it's a brilliant show, by the way. You've got to go and see it. We arrived for this press night at the Figaro at the Palladium. I've never been to the Palladium before, and then Asher goes, "Oh, that's my cousin." Was it like the main bloke?
He was Figaro, yeah. He was very good. So if you want to go and see that, the London Palladium, he's just like me. Exactly like me.
He was absolutely nothing like Asher Gould at all. It's a unique musical. Yeah, definitely worth going to see. Well, should we go to a break or
We've got Cindy. We've got Cindy in Michigan on the TV. We're going to watch her. Let's put her on. Let's
Come on, Cindy.
Show the dog the rabbit. Or is it the other way around? Cindy? Oh, well, we'll take a break. We'll be back with Cindy and Gemma after this.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
So, somebody's just sent a message asking us to buy The Guardian and keep it for them because their dad's obituary is going to be in it. Well, why not buy it yourself?
No one wants to buy The Guardian.
So the producers just agreed to that. Right, okay, well, we're going to buy a copy of The Guardian.
We get it anyway, yeah.
But I mean, if it's your father's obituary, I would suggest you buy it yourself and keep your own copy.
It's probably bad luck.
Anyway, we're going to Cindy. Have we got Cindy? Cindy in Michigan. Go for it, Cindy.
Howdy doody. Good afternoon it is there, isn't it?
Hi, how are you, gentlemen?
We're all right, man.
Good.
It's early evening, isn't it? What is it, 6:30 in the evening where you are?
Something like that. Yeah, I'm 5 hours.
7:30.
Yeah, that sounds about more accurate.
So what's going on, man? Is it, you've got Trump now, he's doing all kinds of things. It must be brilliant in America, everyone dancing in the streets.
Yeah, just about. I want to say I've never been more excited about a president.
Are you training for the
life.
Olympics now that you've got a chance?
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm excited about Trump, and I want to say I'm thankful, really thankful for you guys. You guys really put a pep in my step.
Thank you so much.
Well, I don't know if we did that. But...
Well, if you get a bit of a jump in your step, you might be able to do pole vaulting.
Yeah, right.
Triple jump.
Maybe win something.
Do you know what? During the London 2012 Olympics, I was walking through Stratford and there was a bloke with a big stick. And I said to him, "Oh, are you a pole vaulter?" And he goes, "No, I'm a German, but how do you know my name was Walter?"
Well, my name's not Volter.
Pole vaulter. I'm a German.
So tell us about America.
Well, America,
that's how they
doing
say it.
Never better. Never better.
What do you mean? I mean, is there a happy atmosphere? Are people happy in that? Or are there some people that are really annoyed about it?
See, I live in a very conservative part of Michigan. I live in what's called the Thumb. So it's been happy. You know, we've been rooting for Trump.
Why is it called the Thumb?
Yeah, why is it? Yeah.
That's because on the map, it looks like an actual thumb.
Yeah, they do that in America, don't they? They like call it what it looks. It's quite good, actually. You know what I mean? The way they do
So it's the thumb. It's the thumb part. It looks like when you can easily find me on the map.
Okay, let's have a go.
Do you live at the
Yeah, look at Michigan. And
the
then
Lower Peninsula looks like a mitten, and you live in the thumb. Now, do you live in the thumbnail, or like the bottom of the thumb, or which bit of the thumb do you live in? The end of it.
Oh yeah, it does look like a thumb.
What part do you think?
The left side of the
left side of the tip.
Do you use, like, because in this country there's a rule in television that a penis mustn't be more erect than, the mull of Kintyre. In America, do they use Florida as the guide to the amount of erection that you can show?
I don't know. I have to ask my husband about that.
Are you in Flint?
Can you...
Where they invented the flint?
No, I'm in Pigeon.
Pigeon. Where they invented the pigeon.
Hang on. Yeah. Michigan, and I appreciate this is a bit boring, but Michigan looks more like a howling dog.
Yeah, it looks like a skunk.
Well, it's not a very exciting city.
Yeah, but that's probably
a good thing. I have to say it's it's quiet. It's a town. If you've lived your life and you want a peaceful place to exist and to have a family.
It's true, isn't it? I mean, like, when you go to a busy city, say you go to New York or something, is it nice to get back home and it's all quiet like the Boltons and that?
Yes, I'll tell you, yes, and especially, where I live, because I live on the canal.
How did you find us? Are we big in Michigan? Do a lot of people in Michigan watch us? Do you tell them to watch us? How did you find us?
I tell everybody that I can. I tell all my relatives. I tell everyone. Because I'm a big fan.
Do they listen to you?
Oh, by the way, we discovered something. We discovered an amazing fact about YouTube. Right, Asher and I have not been able to understand why we keep doing the same things independently of each other. Like, we both bought a drone in the same week and didn't know we were going to... What we've discovered now is, because we watch the same stuff on YouTube, it recommends the same videos.
And it links us up through other apps, and it's all linked.
So, like, he said to me, did you know that the Soviet Union domesticated foxes? And I went, unbelievably, I watched a documentary.
The fox experiments and of course Google is owned by Alphabet, which owns YouTube. So if you search on Google, you'll often find on your YouTube, it will look for things and link it all up.
Yeah,
so you know what I mean?
Right,
cookies.
It links it all up in
I mean, you call them cookies.
Like.
They're called biscuits here.
Yeah,
the computer little things they're called biscuits.
Cindy, I just want to ask you this really important question, which is, do you believe that the Soviet Union was right to domesticate foxes?
It's not that what they did was they got aggressive foxes and nice foxes and they bred them, and then they realised it was sort of a subspecies of lovely cuddly foxes who would follow training and others who were just outrageous and anyway,
but can I tell you the best thing about this bloke?
I'm an animal lover.
Do you know what? You wouldn't like the aggressive
do you know what the bloke did? The bloke claimed the reason he was domesticating them was to make it easy to use them for fur, and that's why the Soviet Union funded his research. So he got all these happy, playful, nice foxes, and then skinned them and turned them into a nice helmet. Unbelievable.
No, but that wasn't really.
I don't like that.
No, that wasn't really the experiment. But you should look into it.
I'll tell you what, I was watching The Idiot Abroad with Carl Pilkington in China. Absolutely brilliant. He's going. You know what? Look at what that bloke eats. You know what? He wouldn't have a normal sandwich. He'd have a squid with some sort of a growth on its skull.
Squid and Branston pickle. Yeah. Thanks there, Cindy, and have a nice day.
Have a nice day.
And you're welcome.
Okay, Steve in Walsall.
In Poland.
Hello, Andre. Hello, Ash.
All right, man.
I've noticed again now that Thames Water are after money again.
Not from you, though. You're in Severn Trent area.
No, I know that, but I watch it on...
Oh, you found out about it, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, what gets me, last year, they asked their shareholders for if they could have some money, and the shareholders said, no, we're not giving you any.
That's true.
Quite right.
As soon as the gas, water and electric and put back into back at public ownership, we'll never do no good. You'll never control inflation.
Because they're monopolies, aren't they? I mean, especially the water, right? Gas and electric, you can get, but with water, you're stuck with who you've got.
Yeah, I've got to be honest with you. I think it's only fair that if you're going to pay profit, you've got to get competition as well. And the idea that there's no competition but there is profit, I think is grossly unfair.
Why don't they do with the water what they did with the gas and electricity?
I've got no idea.
Do you know, Steve?
It's enterprise, but this is ridiculous. You'll never control.
Well, it's not free. It's not free enterprise, is it? It's a state monopoly that's been given to the private sector. Really.
We should be took back off them.
Of course, it should. Yeah, we agree. And the trains.
I was working for an American company once, a big American company.
Yeah.
And they up sticks and went back to Florida because they couldn't afford to be here. Yeah.
Was that in like the 70s?
Yes.
Because I remember, Warsaw was very industrial. And what sort of company was it that you worked at?
It was an American company that made archery equipment and sporting equipment.
Exactly, because it was all the metal,
archery equipment.
It was all the metal industry, and obviously Warsaw's famous for saddlery. They made the royal saddles in.
Hang
Warsaw.
on, Steve. Steve, are you a Fletcher?
They made saddles. Pardon? Yes, Andre.
Are you a Fletcher?
No.
No.
No, but I mean, it was all. It was.
I come from a Klaus engineering background. Klaus Solomon.
Well, it was the workshop of the world, wasn't
it? A Fletcher is a person who makes arrows.
That's right. Yeah, you were. You were a Fletcher.
No, I wasn't.
You were.
Well, what did you do at the archery factory?
I was the till room manager.
The what room? Till room.
Till room where all the tilling's made and looked after.
Oh. I tell you should call in James Wales about this because he was the under-16 Surrey champion of Toxicolopoly.
Toxicolopoly?
That's the name of archery.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. But,
you should know that, being you worked into whatever.
It's been a fascinating.
It's an education, this show.
It was a big outfit that got the main place was in Florida.
Well, that's being repeated now, isn't it? What we've got.
One day, and I said, "Have you heard what we're doing?" I said, "I don't know." He said, "Well, we better sit down. We're mopping sticks. We're going back to Florida."
And it was a thriving place, Walsall.
The machinery back to Florida. They said we can't afford to exist in this country with all the taxes.
And that's happening now, whatever we've got
Absolutely.
left.
Absolutely it is.
You know, the amount of companies I've seen to stop, finish here and go back to America or another.
Yeah, but this is what Trump was complaining about, Steve, this idea of all these businesses going abroad. Now, look, I do agree with having stuff cheaper, but at the same time, if you're going to export all your jobs abroad, what are you going to do?
No, but the thing is, all this stuff we're having from China, it doesn't cost them hardly anything to make it because I'm all being subsidised to undermine our economy.
We could never compete now industrially with China. You buy things from China for a couple of quid and you think, how did you make that, export it, travel it, and it's a couple of quid, this electronic device. We could never do anything like that.
No.
We have to stick to... You're going on about China. They're opening a coal-fired power station every 3 months.
I know. All that's happening is we're putting environmental regulations on to destroy British business and export the jobs to more polluting jobs in China.
Look at Ptolemy, the steel industry. We shut that down to show our green balance, the CO2, and now we just import it from China, so it's much worse even because now we've got the importer, and it's the same with our oil. We import gas from America.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
I mean, like I say, over the years, I lived in the heyday, you call it the black country, the amount of people what worked there and everything was made, the stuff what was made was unbelievable.
Well, everything was made in Birmingham and Walsall and all around Wolverhampton and the black country.
The problems to all this was staring them in the face and I didn't do anything about it. Of course,
they ran it down on purpose, I think.
Indeed. All right, Steve, thank you so much. I'll tell you what, why don't we go for an early bath and then we'll go for Luke in Bromley.
Come on, then.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Yes, indeed, this is Talk. Let's go to Luke in Bromley. Oh, by the way, you can give us a call still. We've still got about 15 minutes left. 03444991000. Luke, go for it.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Hello.
I was in bed listening to you guys with my Bluetooth things. I didn't disturb the wife. And I thought, I've got to get out of bed and go downstairs and phone you guys up.
I'm sorry for getting you out of bed.
So,
what for? What have we done?
No, it's nice, to talk about some good stuff. Listen, I just want to acknowledge firstly that Donald Trump, he's doing a good old job over in America and around the world. I'm very impressed. He's going a million miles an hour.
I've never seen a politician do that. Suddenly
Crazy,
come in. It's never happened. It's unprecedented.
People hate him because he actually is doing what he said he'd do.
Yes, I know. And
it's good stuff.
Argues, say, well, at the end of the day, he got the mandate to do it because he got so many
Correct.
votes.
Correct.
And one of those things is sorting out Gaza. And I'm like the Gaza, and I'm just happy with. I think it's a great idea what he's proposing.
I agree.
Because at the end of the day, he's going to. He's going to. What better way to bring peace than basically turf out people who haven't allowed peace or they've supported, the observers in Hamas,
Well, it's a solution, isn't it? I mean, it's not going to work another way, as it's been proven. It's going to happen again and again. And interestingly, there's a story in today's Telegraph. Pro-Palestinian activists were planning London March as October the 7th massacre unfolded. The Palestine Solidarity Campaign organised called Met Police about intended protest the following week as terror attack was ongoing. Pro-Palestinian activists were planning a demonstration through London as the October the 7th massacre was actually taking place.
That was discussed outside the embassy the night of the attack.
But actually, while it was happening, at 12:50 p.m. on the day of the terror attack, while it was still ongoing, the Palestine Solidarity Campaign notified the Met Police that they intended to hold a protest, and this has been found out through a Freedom of Information request. News that Hamas terrorists were attacking Israeli civilians in the southern part of the country had emerged. By the time the BSC spoke to the police, Hamas had taken hostages and killed hundreds of people across towns and villages next to the Gaza Strip.
That's horrendous.
This was all planned. Maybe people knew about it. And we have got former Hamas leaders, unbelievably, that are living here, like in leafy suburbs of London. And
I bet they're all on the social as well. Of
course, yeah.
It's unfortunate that the mainstream media give such a thing anti-Israel, anti-Jewish, But the truth is, if you look on the ground, there's so much more support for the Jews and for.
Well, it was always funny at the Eurovision Song Contest when they were booing Israel, and then literally all the big Western European countries all voted for Israel in the public vote. In Eastern Europe, I think it's less on the radar.
Yeah.
But the reality is, I'll tell you one thing that I often say to Jewish friends of mine. I think all of this, when Jewish people go, keep your bag packed, I think in Britain now you unpack your bag, simply because I genuinely do not believe the British public would wear the anti-Semitism that people like Jeremy Corbyn, people like the extreme left, people like the neo-Nazis would want to countenance.
Well, this has a history of standing up. Look at the Second World War, where all the other European countries capitulated, and the black shirts here with Oswald Mosley, they tried it here and they got short shrift.
Correct. One thing about the history, people say, oh, but you're not going far enough back. No, they're not going far enough back, because if you go far enough back, you see that 1000 BC, the Jews came in, right? Under Abraham and stuff, and Islam was only made up 700 AD.
Yeah, exactly.
1,700 years later.
I do find that curious, because the Al-Aqsa Mosque as a central concept. First of all, Al-Aqsa means the furthest mosque away from Mecca, right? It is not Jerusalem. Right now, I have no problem if you want to worship on the Temple of the Mount out of tradition, but there's no reference to Jerusalem in the Quran. And the other thing is, whatever you say about the temple, nobody disputes that the temple was built by the Jews, simply because Islam and Christianity didn't exist when the temple was built. It can't possibly be somebody else's work.
Also, it was a Jewish temple, so why would you build it if you're Christian or Muslim? Like the Jews going, I'm going to build a mosque.
Yes.
If you want some history, ask the people, the so-called Palestinians, in Gaza Strip, ask them, show me some pottery, some historic relics and stuff that you dug up. There was none. Ask the Jews to show some. Good.
You can dig it up tomorrow. They keep finding stuff now. Even.
I mean, I think the problem is, look, I'm perfectly happy. I've always said that just because I disagree with Emmanuel Macron on some of his policies doesn't mean we should abolish France. I do think that Israel has made some mistakes. I think it's lamentable performance on the 7th of October. Just all over the place, incompetent, ill-prepared, badly equipped, whatever. But at the same time, the problem you've got is that the opposition to Israel are not saying Benjamin Netanyahu is a knob. They're saying, let's eradicate this entire category of people.
It's like people slagging off any other country, say this country for what Starmer's doing. They don't slag Britain off for what they're doing. They go to Starmer government. But with Israel, it seems that's you're right. It's a democracy.
So
all different governments.
Governments will come and go, and they're not always perfect. But we're actually talking about Jews, and we're talking about Israel. So the government of Israel is not always going to make a good decision.
I mean, I think the other point that you've got to make is that people forget is that there is a two-state solution. Jordan is the Palestinian state. Right? Is it perfect? No, but it is.
The Israel that we know now is actually only 12% of the original Israel.
Yes.
Oh, it was a lot bigger.
I mean, I think at the end of the day, what took place when there was a large migration from Europe after the Second World War, yes, of course, that's going to cause tensions and problems. But at the end of the day, without being funny, these people had just been the victim of a genocide. They weren't going to ask permission to settle in Israel. And we know that because we as the British tried to stop them and they did not take any notice whatsoever. And when you start talking about going, oh, well, the Jews stole the land and all this, well, what are you going to do about that? Because ultimately, the problem that you've got if Israel ceased to exist, there would be a genocide immediately. They're not going to allow it to happen. So all this garbage about the Israelis should give up and give all the land to the Palestinians, they're not going to do it anyway.
And also, they go on, oh, these are all Europeans. It's not. It's actually that's a load of bunkum. Yeah. Over 50%, in fact, I think it's 53%. Are from Arab lands, so they're actually Jews from the area. And there were just under 1 million kicked out in 1948, 49 from the Arab countries. I mean, they talk about apartheid. It doesn't exist in Israel, but all those other countries, it does. If you're a Jew in certain areas, you have to pay a tax, or you're just not allowed. You're into single figures in some of these. Like Iran, there used to be millions, and now there's like about 6.
Yeah, I had a friend of mine who was saying that he told me he was Jewish, and I was quite surprised. I mean, you've got to remember, I'm fundamentally not that bothered, but it was because he was Lebanese I was quite surprised. And he said, you must not tell anyone that I'm Jewish, because if that gets out in Lebanon, I will be killed.
Wow. Because you're Jewish. How ridiculous is that? I mean, goodness me. That's.
By the way, can I tell you something? Can I ask you this question? This idea, I've got to tell you, I think rebuilding Gaza, creating a master plan and just building the thing and then moving the population back in or whatever, I think it's a brilliant idea, because I think what it does is it gives you an opportunity to establish the economy, it gives you an opportunity to establish the port. Israel can't allow a port in Gaza because Hamas are in charge. If the Americans took over, they'd be fine with the port.
Yeah, and I tell you what, if they renovate it, I'll be the first in line to go on holiday.
I was going to say, because Luke runs a business, when they build buildings, he sends in people to clean these buildings. Imagine the contracts you can get. Trump, we can put you a good word in through Pastor Mark Burns.
I tell you what, I might be speaking to some people to invest in that area, because I think there's a bit of money for it.
I'll tell you something. If you created the port of Gaza and a free trade zone on the coast next to the Suez Canal, or virtually next to the Suez Canal, and in such a strategic location, they would make millions. The number one thing that's holding Gaza back is that Hamas government.
Yeah, no, happy days. So let's have a word with Philip Holman. Maybe he'll set something up there.
But Luke, what I want to ask you, because you're an entrepreneur. If you don't know, Luke set up his own business about 5 years ago. He worked in the city. He got diagnosis of Parkinson's. He quit that job. Well, they weren't nice to him, and he set up this business. And it energised him, the diagnosis. And he runs this quite big company now. Who basically give jobs to women, British women, and people who need the jobs, and they do the cleaning. What are you seeing in business terms with this unbelievably bad economy that we're in? How is it affecting you?
people who actually know about business, you're not scared of a recession, not scared of competition. You just be a bit better than the rest, and you get enough business. It's only the people who are on the...
Yeah, but the economy, is it suffering? You know, are you getting red tape problems? I mean, what about all that sort of stuff?
It slows in construction, because we major in construction cleaning. So it slows down construction projects, I must admit. So you have to make sure you don't pull your eggs in one basket, spread yourself wide. And also keep yourself like a speedboat, able to pivot and able to,
You've got to make quick decisions. And they're a bit like Trump, you know, you instantly act. It's all about actions and not words, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. My final point is the executive decisions in America. Would it help if our government somehow adopted this sort of sign a document and get on with it type job?
Find a what?
What with us with Gaza? Well, the big problem we've got with Gaza.
It comes out of policy.
Yeah, but the big problem we've got with Gaza, because we're not really a traditional ally of Israel, we're much more of an ally of Jordan. The Israelis are not that bothered what we think. They're interested because we've got a large Jewish population and we're an ally of the United States of America. But fundamentally, America tends to lead. Israel's not that. I mean, I went to the British ambassador to Israel's house when I was in Israel, and they basically said, look, we can lobby for free trade economics and whatever, but you have to understand that we don't have the ear of the Prime Minister of Israel.
Yeah. No, so, okay. I mean, so what I was saying was, when Nigel Farage becomes Prime Minister, for example, would he be able to move at the same sort of pace? Probably not. But, could we somehow adopt the way of somehow not having to wait?
But now he's seen Trump do it, I think he would be thinking...
I think it's a great idea.
Before that, he would have said, well, we can't do that. But now he's seen Trump do that, I think he would work out ways to do that. And if we did, it would be amazing, wouldn't it?
Seal the borders, net zero...
Get rid of that.
Immigration.
Oh, I thought you were talking... I thought you were talking specifically about Gaza. You're talking in general about...
Now, yeah.
Yeah. Great, all right, Luke. Well, I think we've got one final caller, haven't we? We're going to put them... Might as well just put them straight
Apparently, Trump could deport Prince Harry. That's the next thing he's going to act on, because, of course, there's rumours about what he did on his... he might publish the actual report.
Just to be clear, what people are confused about with Prince Harry is he's admitted to taking cocaine and cannabis in his book Spur. But, of course, if you admit to that in your visa application, you won't get into the United States of America. So there is an assumption that presumably he lied. OK, Sarah is in Maidenhead. Sarah, you're on talk.
Hi, Andre. I'm a big fan.
Hello, thank you.
I just wanted to know, is Ash single?
Yes. Yeah. Why do you fancy a bit?
Oh, okay. No.
Can you describe yourself for me and send in a photo to the...
I think Andre should make you a live dating profile.
Oh, yeah, no, don't do that, because the mess that he got into with Phil and all
It took about 2 days to get rid of it.
He nearly got in the slammer, these days with data protection.
So, whereabouts in Maidenhead?
I think that's a bit confidential, isn't it?
Well, I'm going to need to know. No, don't tell us. But what do you like in a man? Or a woman?
What do I like in a man? No, this isn't about me, Ash. It's about you.
Okay.
So let's just ask you a couple of questions. What questions can we ask and not get into trouble?
How old are you? We should never ask.
What are you wearing?
Yeah, what are you wearing?
Right, okay, goodbye.
Oh. She's gone.
Oh, dear.
We're only joking.
Dear. OK, right, so thank you so much. Look, I don't know what we're doing tomorrow night, whether James Whale's back or whether...
He should be back, Caterese Paribus. Yeah, he's coming back. So join, me and him and you, I don't know what, from
Well,
10,
I want to come in anyway, just in case he can't make it all the way through.
From 10 p.m. He's hoping to do the whole thing, so he's feeling
So I've been
good
biffed.
About it.
I've been biffed. Dreadful. Wow. OK, well, that is the return of James Whale tomorrow night. That's going to be at 10 o'clock on Talk. I'm really pleased he's back. Also,
a lot of people, yeah. And don't forget, follow us at Andre JP Walker.
At Virtual Ash. And also go on YouTube. Andre Walker. You just search Andre Walker and you will get through to me. I've got 120,000 subscribers now.
And you get to see his front parlour with his traditional...
I thought you were about to say you see his front bottom.
Well, that's in the new channel, and that's subscription only, and that's Substack, which stands for Substantial Stack.
Is that what it stands for?
No, that's when you do your... You've got a substantial stack.
OK, yeah, so please do follow us on YouTube.
Like Danny Dyer.
Danny Dyer.